Welcome back to Chicago, Illinois. MLB.com Radio proudly presents the 5th annual Futures Game. Here in anticipation of the All-Star Game on Tuesday night. We are live from the home of the Chicago White Sox. Seth Everett, Billy Sample, Brian Mcrae, and Zach Zaidman, part of our broadcast today. And we've got plenty to do, plenty to discuss as the managers, Tony Oliva from the World Team and Carlton Fisk, the White Sox legend from the Team USA. And we will have lineup cards exchanged, and we'll give you those starting lineups in just a couple of minutes as the teams will get underway, and we are almost set for first pitch after our 90-minute pregame. Want to remind our listeners, this is an interactive broadcast as only MLB.com Radio can do. You can interact with us while we're doing the Futures Game, and that is through our email address, radio@MLB.com. That's right, radio@MLB.com, or if you have America Online, AOL for broadband, or the AOL Instant Message Service, you can send us an IM over at MLB Radio Live. That's right, MLB Radio Live. So we've got that coming up in just a couple of minutes. And as the U.S. team is getting set to take the field, as they'll begin their warm-up, we'll get set for the play-by-play, and we will welcome in our first of many guests throughout the afternoon. From Major League Baseball, the senior manager of minor league operations, Sylvia Lind, is kind enough to join us once again. Sylvia, good to see you as always.
Thank you.
Last time we spoke, we had announced the rosters. The rosters didn't have too much tweaking, including the guy who's starting for the World Team, Rich Harden. I know you guys were very concerned on whether or not Harden would be called up to the big league before the Futures Game.
That was one of the biggest things. I mean, obviously, when we try to... as we have the fireworks in the background, that's not me popping that much. When we try, we're very cautious. Obviously, AAA guys, are going to have be in an advanced position in their careers, but it was a little nerve-wracking with Harden. We really thought he was going to be the first guy to go. I wouldn't be surprised to see him called up next week, though.
Exactly. And there was a talk about maybe this game playing one of the influences, saying, look, let's let him get the Futures Game experience, and then we'll figure out exactly how to do this. The series currently tied 2-2, and the Futures Game has grown. It was a great idea in 1999, but it's now developed from the fact that young players are being able to ask older guys in the organization, hey, what was the Futures Game like? You ever think it would come to that?
Well, it's something that we had noticed when we have a team breakfast every year, and I had told the guys this morning, we're very proud of what you've accomplished, and this game, look at all the guys that have gone before you. Alfonso Soriano, Mark Mulder, Barry Zito, Lance Berkman. There is a huge amount of guys that are in the majors that have really made something of themselves that came to this game.
Neal Cotts has just finished his warm-up tosses. And as Ramon Nevar steps to the batter's box, we'll continue to talk to Sylvia. Sylvia, now what was the latest player that you had to replace?
That would have been...
How hectic is that?
Well, that would have been yesterday morning as I was at the airport. I had called in to check my messages before I left. I'm sorry, that was Friday morning. We were leaving on Friday, and I had a frantic message from the farm director of the...
That first pitch, a double down the left field line. And even though it's a sure double, it's fun to watch Nevar cut first base. He rounds second hard, the kind of thing that scouts like to see. And first pitch, and we have a run in scoring position.
Just like that?
Yep.
Well, we, our player substitutions, as anybody who's followed the Futures Game at all knows, we usually have to make some last-minute player substitutions, and the Dodgers had an injury at the Major League level, so they needed to call up Ching-Fen Chen. So we were kind of short at first. None of the other infielders had really played first, other than Rene Reyes, the one first baseman. So we called the Braves, and luckily they had a Canadian, Scott Thorman, who is kind of young, but definitely has a high ceiling.
And as Alex Gomez, left-handed batter, takes low and outside, he's in this situation, I would imagine, going to show that he can advance a runner to third base by hitting the ball to the right side. He fouls the fastball off to the left. This will be a little informal, so you can just jump in wherever. Anybody can jump in wherever.
We can all jump in.
We can all jump in.
Well, good. I can tell you, Tony Oliva is very excited about the players he's got. Obviously, the managers don't always know a whole lot about the players, but, the coaches do. That's why we bring in the minor league managers as coaches. And but he was very interested. He's still working in the Twins organization. He's works with their kids a lot. In fact, when we first asked him to be manager, he said, "Okay, we got some great guys. We got a Canadian, we got an Australian, we got a Mexican." And I said, we appreciate that, but we're inviting you. We'll pick the other guys. Don't worry. There's actually a lot of speed, especially at the top of this world team.
One of the beauties we saw last year as Gomez lines a fastball foul down the left field line. 1-2 the count. Was watching Jose Reyes when he hit that bases-loaded triple and just watching just the speed from where we sit and just running around the bases, cutting the bags, and it was just beautiful to watch.
Reyes is outstanding, and he always will. He'll tell anybody when he hits the ball at the crack of the bat, he shoots for third.
Fastball catches. Gomez looking on the outside part of the plate. So Cotts gets a strikeout as the runner does not advance from second base. 1-on-1 out for Reyes.
This is Neal Cotts' first year with the White Sox organization. He, of course, was part of the big Billy Koch-Keith Foulke trade. And fans, I'm sure, sitting in the stands wondering if Keith Foulke will be here at U.S. Cellular Field on Tuesday night as an all-star. Well, Billy Koch and the White Sox have struggled in the first half.
Speaking of speed, stolen base. Good throw by Maurer, but Nevar had a good jump. And now we'll see. I guess this early in the game, the U.S. team will keep the infield back, and they will, as Reyes swings and misses at a fastball.
I think this is all a part of Tony Oliva's master plan because he wants to get a full 7 innings from his pitchers, and I said, look, that's up to your hitters. You want to hit in the bottom of the 7th, make sure they're hitting in the beginning.
Line just wide of first. Reyes staying alive on a changeup on the outside part of the plate. 1-2 the count. Is it harder, Sylvia, to get the world players than the U.S. players if you have a late substitution?
It actually is. Obviously, baseball is a very global game, and that's why we have this format, and we really appreciate the different countries that are represented. But sometimes you look in some positions, I mean, it may be a little stereotypical, but a lot of world players tend to be middle infielders, and pitchers. We're never going to have a shortage of Dominican pitchers. There are just so many outstanding ones. But when you look at like a catcher or a first baseman, sometimes even outfield, depending on the year, it's real tough.
No, but it represents on the major league level because of, let's say, Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. You have the pitchers from the DR and you have the position players from Puerto Rico. I don't know if the reasoning, but it's been like that for the last 30, 40 years, it seems. Reyes has fouled 3 pitches back, the last being a fastball, and the count remains 1-2 strikes. Runner at third, infield back. We're in the top of the first, the 5th annual Futures game.
Is that we also have, you've seen a big influence, I think, by Dave Concepcion, who was the world manager last year, because there are so many Venezuelan shortstops and second basemen that we see. It's amazing.
Going all the way back to a man who played here quite a few years, Chico Carrascal. A long line of Venezuelan shortstops. Curveball fisted foul. This is the 5th pitch that has been fouled off by Reyes. And the count remains 1-2 strikes from the top of the first. And the world batting.
Very fancy new batting helmets there. The black batting helmets for the world team with the Futures Game logo on the bill of it. Very nice to see.
We've tried actually the first couple of years. We really had very little Futures Game identifiable merchandise, and we've been trying to build a brand out of it. And the irony is, our participants, we've been told by licensing, there may not be too much of a market, but
right.
Our participants are really looking for Futures Game stuff. They don't want the generic all-star stuff.
And Reyes finally chased the pitch out of the strike zone, did not catch up with the fastball, and Cotts has struck out 2 and hoping to strand a runner at third for Pete Laporos. He's a designated hitter, and he's from Tampa Bay.
This guy was hitting, he can just hit the hell out of the ball. He was hitting 350 about a month ago. He has dropped down a little. I think he's hovering around 320 now.
Does he really have a position?
That's the problem with Tampa Bay. I mean, they've got Toby Hall. Catching is really his position. They're looking more to kind of, keep him DH. He may be best suited for a DH. As much as you don't like to think of a guy coming up as a DH, he's just, they admire his bat so much.
He's ahead of the count, 2 balls. Big left-handed hitter, lefty versus lefty, as Scott sets and delivers a fastball that catches the outside part of the plate, according to Scott Kennedy. Cameron Keller, John McMasters, and Todd Titchener umpiring around the bases.
I think it's really interesting, too. One of the things in the futures game that you see is the matchups when you have younger pitchers and more advanced hitters. And here, there aren't a lot of guys on the world team that are in AAA, but Laporos is one of the ones that is. And, Cotts is only at AA, and I think it just kind of proves you first that AA is kind of the benchmark. That's really where a guy's going to come out and show what he's got.
I agree with you. I still think it from my days there that AA is where you have the most raw talent. That sometimes you go to AAA and you get a little more seasoning depending on who you are and what position you play. But just for raw talent, if you can get by AA, you can get by anything, as fastball is fouled off to the left, and the count remains at 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Runner at third, that's Nevar, who opened the game with a double down the left field line and stole third. And Neal Cotts struck out the successive 2 batters, and he's looking for a strike here. Sets with a 3-2, and it's just a little low. Ball 4. The world at the corners. 2 out for Franklin Gutierrez. He's in the Dodger organization. A left fielder. What level did he play? Because the Dodgers could use some hitting.
Yeah, he's kind of young, too. He's at Vero Beach.
Right.
Yep. So he's somebody who's going to come up. He's not going to be ready, though, for a little while.
Right.
Leads the Florida State League in home runs with 17.
17 in the Florida State League? Jeez. They've got big ballparks down there.
Hope that's not a typo.
They got the big ballparks and not a lot of people.
He takes a fastball strike inside part of the plate. Slider low and inside. Nice play by Maurer, moving to his left, and the count evens at 1. And at Vero Beach, Seth told you 17 homers, 56 ribbies with a 291 average.
I think we should mention I know that Tommy Lasorda, who's in the Dodger organization and has been pretty much his entire life, is here, and he was I talked to him the other day at the Southern League All-Star game, which Cotts pitched in. I believe he may have been the starter. And you look at it, and Tommy just spends so much time with the young kids, despite having, one of those kind of undefined roles with the organization. He spoke to, he gave a real rousing speech. I'm told it was the same one that he talks to the Dodgers guys with, too. But
if you've only heard it for the first time, you don't know any better.
The rest of the Southern League All-Stars were impressed.
And a 2-2, a change-up. Low tie and outside, and the count runs full to Franklin Gutierrez.
Well, we just use a lot of the material from this game tomorrow at the Home Run Derby and then at the All-Star game on Tuesday. So only listen to one.
Speaking of players from Venezuela, Franklin from Caracas awaits the payoff pitch. Runner moving from first, lofted down the right field line, and it's about 1.5 feet foul.
But look at this. You see how much they're sending him. I mean, Laporos, who's no speed demon over there, is already at third.
Tony's going to impress you enough that you'll ask him next year to coach the world team.
I think we can work on that. I'll be accused, however, of having too many Cubans to manage all the teams. We're now up 3-2 Cubans to Venezuelans. So.
Who were some of the other managers? You said David Concepcion.
Dave Concepcion was last year's world manager. Paul Molitor was a U.S. manager. The prior year we had Gaylord Perry, U.S. manager, and one of my all-time favorites, Minnie Mignoso, as the world manager.
Chicago legend, a White Sox legend.
Absolutely, and we didn't look ahead, obviously, enough to know that we were going to be in Comiskey this year. So we've already had 2 White Sox as managers because.
And line drive, 1 hop through the right side for a base hit. Nevar scores, and the world team on the board, 1-0.
His second year we had Tony Perez and Jim Rice as managers. And one of the things we try to have some kind of association between the managers, and I just thought to have a red and a Red Sox opposing managers was an amazing thing. But at
going
first,
back to 1975.
Exactly. And Jim loved it. Tony did as well. But it was something very enjoyable for both of them. But the first year we had Lou Brock and Luis Aparicio as managers. So we were already had 3 White Sox there.
That's right.
So I don't think we'll be calling any of them for a little while.
And Louis is the honorary captain for the American League for the All-Star game, which will be on Tuesday, yes. Guillermo Quiros swings and misses. And now behind the count, 2 strikes. Guillermo, a right-handed batter. 282, 13 homers, and 53 ribbies in Double-A New Haven.
Named to the Eastern League All-Star team.
Fastball fisted.
Eastern League All-Star game will be played on Wednesday, day after the Major League game in New Britain.
Oh, okay. I guess there's no way, and we were talking to somebody earlier about it, to structure the schedule so that they can have their time off the same time the Major Leaguers will have their time off, so you can play this game and not miss any games. Although I'm sure they probably want to miss some games that long minor league season. A day off, I get to go.
A day off, and I'm not traveling somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, they actually do try. What they used to do before we had the Futures game is the Double-A game, which was a joint game, was the day before the Major League game. The Triple-A game was the day after. And
the 0-2 tapped the third, long throw across in time. 5-3 on the putout. And the World team strands to, however, they score. Nevar's scores after doubling, stealing third, and advancing to home on a single to right by Franklin Gutierrez. And the World team won, and the U.S. team coming to bat. You're listening to MLB.com radio.
You love the game. You love your team. And you love your friends and family. So to get home safely, you hand off your keys to a sober, designated driver. America's all-star team of sports leagues, stadium service partners, brewers, broadcasters, and traffic safety experts thanks to sober, designated drivers who make sure you buckle up and get you home safely.
For 2 years now, I've been listening to that young whippersnapper, Seth Everett, do his Lou Piniella impersonations. And during the winter meetings, I finally called him on it.
If somebody does a great impression of you, would you like to hear it?
Well, why not? Let's hear it. Well, I got to tell you, if I'm the manager of the Devil Race, and they are a good team, then all of a sudden people are going to start to look at me as a great manager. Now that, I got to tell you, that's a great thing. It is a great thing. That is a great thing.
Check out the MLB Radio archives only on Major League Baseball Radio.
Batting practice has a whole new complexion this season. Introducing the new line of batting practice gear from the MLB.com shop. Majestic has reinvented its batting practice clothing line since its birth 20 years ago. Cutting-edge changes to the material, quality of the apparel, and eye-popping colors gives the apparel a striking quality that has this line of apparel one of our hottest and coolest lines for spring. Come to the MLB.com shop and see what the buzz is all about. Just click on the MLB shop icon on the homepage to find out more. The MLB.com shop. For baseball, there's no .com petition.
MLB Radio is the home for baseball talk. In addition to our regular talk shows, MLB Radio has a host of specialty programming throughout the week. Returning favorites include the Hall of Fame Hour, the Pat Sajak Baseball Hour, the Todd McFarland Show, the Fantasy 411, and more. The players are also back. Barry Zito, Torrey Hunter, and Joe McEwing, just to name a few. MLB Radio, entering our 4th season, the comprehensive baseball talk network in the game.
Canadian Rich Harden on the mound as the U.S. team comes to the plate, trailing the World team 1-0 in the bottom of the first. Seth Everett, Billy Sample along with him, Sylvia Lynn, the Vice President of Baseball Operations, Minor League Baseball Operations, joining us as well.
I would love to have been promoted into Dwayne if you had such a power.
I think of you as having that kind of power.
I think of me sometimes, but no, I really don't. You know, every couple weeks I open something up. It doesn't appear that I could possibly have that power.
In fact, I think I spoke to Jimmy Lee Solomon, and he said you were indeed the vice president. He just didn't tell you because he didn't want you to ask for a raise.
Just something he has not shared.
Yeah, that's right.
You could have played along.
Dave Krenzel.
I could have gone, except for fear fear that another vice president might come to me and say, look, I don't know what you're telling people out there.
A lot of VPs around.
I'd just like to go and still be employed.
Well, we know the people that really do all the work behind the scenes. Krenzel out of the Brewers organization. Brian Mcrae and I had an opportunity to see him in spring training as he takes a fastball strike from Rich Harden. Actually, I had a chance to see Rich as well. Krenzel with good speed. 312 is his average. He takes a fastball high. Number 3 prospect in the Brewers organization.
Krenzel is somebody I think is really going to help him in the next couple of years. I mean, he hits for average, not too much power, but I mean, he's the kind of guy you'd like to see that can do a lot of things.
I wonder if he's a lot like Scott Podsednik, who is doing that for Milwaukee now, and they picked Podsednik from, where was he from? Seattle, right? They got him from Seattle, and at age 27 plays a similar kind of game as I would think that Krenzel does. As Harden misses with a fastball high, he was clocked at 90 miles an hour. He can get up there in a hurry. So Krenzel with that good speed, 32 steals, is on first. He has a good lead. He takes off. The throw is a strike. The pitch is a strike? No, and the throw goes into the outfield. The throw seemed to be a strike right on the foot, but evidently it
skirted
away just a little bit. So Krenzel with a stolen base. He had about 4 steps before the pitch, but the throw was there. The shortstop Castillo took the throw behind the bag, taking a step up. He might have been able to put the tag on Krenzel. Nevertheless, trying to hit to the right side, and a chopper over the mound into center field for a base hit. Krenzel rounds third. The throw from Reyes is not in time, and we're tied at 1. A strong throw from Reyes, but Krenzel with that kind of speed, able to get in just ahead of the tag by Quiros.
I think this first inning is really a testament to the coaches. You look at the coaches are all minor league managers, and when you hear them talking in the managers meeting about who they're going to play and they really see the talent in these guys, and they try to bring out the best in all of them. I mean, they really try to capitalize and say, hey, look, this is their opportunity in front of a major league audience. Let's let them do what they can do.
And that RBI single off the bat of Grady Sizemore, who is the left fielder in the Cleveland organization, as Chad Tracy and the Arizona Diamondbacks organization takes low for ball 1. He is the third baseman. You heard Jonathan Mayo earlier talk about him as possibly being there had they not traded for Shea Hillenbrand. Harden upstairs with a slider, and the count is 2-0.
Sizemore acquired by the Indians, along with fellow prospects Brandon Phillips and Cliff Lee, in the trade that sent Bartolo Colon to the Expos. And Sizemore emerged as Sports Ticker's all-team team back in 2002.
Well, they've gotten a lot out of that trade because Brandon Phillips, coming up as a shortstop, is now their second baseman in Cleveland. He has a lot of ability.
And Brandon Phillips is another guy who got traded after the team was named. But at least before we got here. So we had some Expos, we had some Indians hats for him. The hardest trade I think that we've had is, we've had 2. Brad Penny was traded on Friday night, and that was after the first Futures game. He was traded in the Matt Mante trade.
Okay, coming over from the Diamondbacks.
And at the point in the first Futures game, all the guys wore their minor league hats. So he didn't know what to do. He did get to Portland prior to the game and drove over in A.J. Burnett's pickup truck to Boston, and we were able to, the Portland Sea Dogs equipment manager was accommodating with a couple of caps for him.
Now, Harden threw 2 fastballs by Tracy, the last of which high and hard from strike 3. So 1 in, 1 on, 1 out for Adam LaRoche. If that name sounds familiar, then it is because his dad, Dave, I remember facing Dave, left-handed pitcher. Yankees, Angels, Cubs, Twins. Dave, am I running out of teams? I think he had about 5 big league teams.
He did Indians,
pitched well. And Cleveland, yes. Harden's getting it up there. He's trying to get it up high in the strike zone. And he's probably one of those, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Sylvia, in that it doesn't matter as much what he does here as compared to some of the others, because he seems as though he's on the fast track.
Yeah, I mean, they're just waiting for Harden. And I really would not be surprised if it were the next few days. You know, Harden is not at the point where he has to prove anything anymore. Obviously, the A's are a pitching-rich organization, so he kind of looks ahead of him and says, well, gee, look what's there. You know, that he feels a lot of pressure, but I don't think they're really still looking for him to try to, you know, show him.
Along those lines, yesterday, Halama started, and they said that he claimed the fifth starting spot, and the answer was clearly no. Basically, they said that we were going to reevaluate after the All-Star break, and that was just a seeming sign that Harden's on his way up there.
And LaRoche gets a piece of a fastball. Harden's throwing it high in the strike zone. LaRoche batting from the left side.
I'm not surprised either to see the way Harden is going after this guy, because, I mean, he is such a gamer. I mean, the one hit, it was a clean hit, but to see, you know, I didn't expect him to kind of fall apart after that. I mean, he's still going after with the heat.
That time he lowered his sight, and it appeared to be a splitter. I hope he throws it, because that's what it looked like he threw, and LaRoche had a fastball swing, losing the top hand. 2 outs, both via the strikeout. 1 on, 1 in for David Kelp.
You know, you mentioned Dave LaRoche, and of course his dad pitched in the 77 All-Star game.
That was at Yankee Stadium.
Yep.
Right-handed batter, Kelton takes a slider just a little bit outside for ball 1. David getting some playing time in center field with the loss of Corey Patterson for the Cubs. 281, 12 homers, and 45 runs batted in before he got to the big leagues, and he takes a fastball a little bit outside, and he's ahead of the count, 2 balls. We're tied at 1. U.S. batting in the bottom of the first. I'll check the velocity on this fastball that he threw by Kelton inside, 90 miles an hour. If you locate, you can probably get by with a 90-mile-an-hour fastball.
I think, you know, Tom Seaver's always saying, look, movement, location is much more important than velocity. And, I mean, I've always been a big believer in, I don't care if you're throwing 112. If it's 112 and straight, eventually they're catching up with it. I won't mention any names, but I am from New York.
Well, it's gracious of Seaver to say that, because not only did he have location and pitch selection, but he had velocity and movement, too.
Well, you know, that's the bonus plan, if you can have all that.
Yeah, I guess that's why he's Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think that kind of played into it a little bit.
Sizemore was running on the pitch that was taken low and inside for ball 4. So we have runners at first and second, 2 out for Steven Smitherman.
That's the thing, is that, I mean, you know, you're talking about pitching in that respect. I mean, you know, pure heat isn't going to fool anybody. You've never had one of those power pitcher that's been successful for an extended period of time that hasn't had a good curve, a good slider, something, a good changeup, something else to go along with that.
Yeah, people forget just how good Nolan Ryan's curveball was to go along with his 98 to 102 mile an hour fastball. As Smitherman has a unusual looking uppercut swing at a pitch that was tailing away from him for strike 1. Steven, big right-handed hitter, slightly open as the stance, away from the plate, deep in the batter's box. Harden sets, glances back at second, and comes to the plate with these chasing guys with the fastball well out of the strike zone, but they're trying to start that bat quickly because it's getting on them quickly. And Smitherman behind the count, 2 strikes.
Radar on that last one, 95.
I don't think Steven has seen many of those in A-ball. And he chases them up the ladder again for strike 3. So Harden strikes out the side, though he gives up an RBI single to Sizemore, scoring Krenzel after a walk and a stolen base, and we're tied at 1.
We continue with the Futures game coverage right here on MLB.com radio, and for that we head down to the Team USA dugout. And Brian Mcrae, B-Mac?
How do you like it pronounced? Greinke. I'm in the U.S. dugout with Zach Greinke. Zach, a lot of things have happened to you in a short period of time. You're up to AA now. How's that adjustment been for you?
Well, it's been a tough adjustment. I was feeling really comfortable on A-ball, and when they moved me over to AA, it's a totally different ball game there. And I'm still struggling with it right now, but hopefully eventually I'll get better at it.
Zach, in the Royals organization, you're one of the top prospects, probably the top pitching prospect. A lot of people in Kansas City want you in the big leagues now. I hear it almost every day. I do the Royals post-game shows, but I tell them that to wait on you because you're a young kid, you're going to be around for a long time, and not to push anything.
I haven't heard about that, but I'm glad they want me up there. Hopefully I'll be ready when they call me up, so hopefully I'll be ready.
You played in Puerto Rico. You're the youngest kid in that league. You seem every league you go to be one of the youngest guys. Has that been hard because the age difference there or just baseball?
Well, it is tough getting along with older guys because they've been through a lot more than I have, but it feels so good being the youngest guy around because you feel like you're accomplishing something and doing things other people aren't. But it's a lot tougher playing with older guys than it is playing with people your age.
Zach, talk about your experience here at the Futures game, hanging out here in Chicago, some of the things that you've seen and done so far.
Oh, Chicago's a great city, man. I've been walking around town. There's like a whole bunch of stuff going on out there. There's probably like over a couple thousand people just walking the streets. Like everywhere you go, you're in a big crowd, and driving's crazy, but overall it's a great town.
You get recognized yet, or that's still a couple of years away?
There's some crazy fans outside our hotel swarming us every time we walk out there, but besides that, nothing else going on.
All right, Zach, you're going to pitch in the fourth inning, so we'll let you get ready, and thanks for spending some time with us.
All right, thank you.
All right, you guys.
Thanks a lot, B-Mac. And, of course, as we get set for the second inning, Sylvia Lynn from the Director of Minor League Ops for Major League Baseball is here. I was waiting for that.
Emperor, I think it's it.
Don't forget, folks, we have our email address wide open here, radio@MLB.com. That's radio@MLB.com or MLB Radio Live if you have AOL Instant Messenger. We have one email question in, and a listener writes, will Gavin Floyd pitch in the Futures game? Gavin, of course, was a guest of us earlier in the pregame show, but one of the Philly prospects, a guy that they're very highly talking about as far as potential pitchers for the Team USA and, of course, for the Phillies. He's in single-A ball, but in the highly touted prospect, I've heard a lot about him.
Yeah, he was, as you said, he was a very high draft pick. Gavin's really excited to be here, too. Between him and Ryan Howard, who's in the Phillies organization, also a young guy, but they make quite a pair. But, yeah, Gavin is definitely going to be pitching. The guys are, Carlton and Tony are really trying to get everybody into this game. They just feel it's very important to, you made an all-star game. It's a shame not to have, have pitch. But Floyd is definitely in. He's, I think, the fourth U.S. pitcher schedule.
And a new pitcher for the U.S. team, and it is John Van
Skoten.
Thank you. There are going to be about 4 or 5 names I'm going to have trouble with. And I'll just call him John. He delivered a slider to Alexis Rios for strike 2 after delivering a fastball strike. Big kid, looks like he's about 6'5". And let's check the velocity because that first fastball looked pretty good. And that last one looked pretty good, too. Strike 3 as Rios will take the bat back to the dugout. Anybody happen to see how quickly that pitch got to the plate? And it was on the outside part of the plate, so it was a great location as well. 1 out for Andy Marte, third base from the Braves organization.
This is another guy who's young, so he may be a little raw, but he is just an outstanding player. Real solid hitter, real good fielder, kind of on the Cal track, a little more power.
Uh-huh. Speaking of Raphael, I think he has 13 home runs, hitting one yesterday.
Yep. Raphael Cal?
Yeah. Fastball inside to another count.
Nobody that won't be at the All-Star game.
For Cal, the first Futures game for Cal was, well, at the time we thought he was our youngest player in the game. We have to go back and do the math now.
Oh, that's right.
But
some people had some years at it, not only for Cal, but Albert Pujols had a couple of years at it, and a number of players. But it's not, I kind of laugh at it as the fastball is fouled down the right field line. First baseman gives chase. He'll watch it go up about 10 rows. But that has happened to a lot of players, especially those players that, let's say, didn't get drafted out of college or didn't get signed out of college, and you go to one of those tryout camps, and some of your own advisors will tell you to take a year off somewhere along the way. So it not only happens to the players coming over from other countries, but it happens to some U.S. players from time to time, too.
Well, I actually had a former major leaguer. I was making some trips during spring training. I had a former major leaguer come up to me and say, look, me quitaron 5 años, which is they took away 5 years from me. Like, kind of, there wasn't a decision in this, and this is somebody who played in the late 70s, early 80s, and he kind of, as he's nearing retirement age, I think he wants those years back.
Years back so he can qualify for the pension.
What he could do, and I said, well, I don't know, kind of confessing to fraud now to the U.S. He did become a citizen, so I think at this point he's kind of stuck.
Broken back, roll up the middle off the bat of Jose Castillo, the shortstop. He ground 6-4 after Marte flied to center. So 3 up, 3 down for John with a long last name that sounds Dutch to me. And
they call him JVB.
JVB?
Yeah,
okay, so that's the way I'm going to call him too. JVB. Has a 1-2-3 inning, yes. And as we go to the bottom of the first inning, we remain tied, the world and the USA.
Time to go down to the world dugout along the first base line. Zach Zaidman standing by. Zach?
We're down here with one of the stars from the Tampa Bay Devil Rays organization, Pete Laporos. And Pete, man, you talk about overcoming obstacles. That's your entire life. Now, I was reading a lot about you. And first of all, you were originally signed by the Expos. They let you go because of an injury. You're from Quebec. Did that hurt?
It did hurt at first. I mean, the way they were talking, my baseball career was over. They said my back was all messed up. I don't know what they saw, but whatever they saw, I proved them wrong. So it did hurt because obviously it was my dream to play for the Expos. But it turned out well. I'm with Tampa now. I'm happy, so it's good.
And what's this I hear about you having visa problems crossing the border from Canada? Is that allowed to happen?
It was a long story from '97 when I signed. Me and Tampa came to an agreement to come with a student visa because I was in junior college in Kansas. And so I said I was going to school in Tampa, and they were going to give me my working visa once I get there. But I never made it because obviously I didn't have the right paperwork, and I got banned from the States. So from that time on, I had to apply for the special permission to get in the States. And this year, I missed the whole spring training, month and a half this season, and finally I got one good for 5 years, so I don't have to worry about it for 5 years, so that's good.
That's huge, and you don't have to worry clearly because your swing is something that's become really special. Talk to me a little bit about how you've managed to stay focused and progress.
When I was home?
No, now.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it's just a lot of hard work, and back home I just never stopped. I mean, I just kept on going. A lot of help with all my hitting coach, and it's all about just being focused and just a mental part of the game. I mean, sometimes in previous years I used to take myself out a lot of at-bats, just being mad or whatever. But this year I'm just just let it go. Just one at the other time and forget about the other one.
Keep up the good work, Pete Laporos. Thank you for joining us. Back upstairs, guys.
Thanks a lot, Zach. And, of course, we will continue to go back into each dugout as the game progresses, both the World Dugout and the U.S. Dugout. This is one of those things that only MLB.com radio can do, and this is one of the only events where we can do it, Billy. When you think about the opportunity to go in the dugouts, that's usually the forbidden place. As a former player, does that offend you at all?
No, not for this kind of event, because you're going to have, it's a once-in-a-lifetime situation. Edgar Gonzalez has a quick prayer to the heavens as he will pitch after Rich Harden, who struck out the side of the world. 9-4 is Gonzalez out of AAA Tucson and AA El Paso. And Tucson, you almost have to feel for them because they had most of their roster advance to the major leagues this year. At some point, the Diamondbacks had 40% of the roster from their AAA as Joe Mauer, first-round pick of 2 years ago, lines one foul down the left field line. The highly touted Joe Mauer, I might say.
That's ironic with Gonzalez here, because the other Mexican pitcher in the game, Jorge De La Rosa, was also at Diamondbacks property at one point. He was loaned. He was supposed to be loaned to a club in Mexico, and they outrighted him instead. As a result, when they were waiting for him, he found religion in the 95-mile-an-hour fastball in Mexico. And he's a lefty. When he came back, the Diamondbacks were happily waiting for him with open arms, and he was sent by the club to the Red Sox.
So it was really the Diamondbacks that found religion.
I guess.
Yeah.
After that. You have no choice.
And Gonzalez in the line for the 1-2 the Mauer. Pitch is low, and the count evens at 2. Miss Lynn, how difficult is it to put this roster together? I know you do it, and Seth was there when you were putting it all together. Now, I know Seth was there basically because he has gifts of gab, and he can sort of tell everybody what's going on, but he wasn't behind the actual placing of the players and getting that all started, which you do every year. Line drive into the gap, cut off by Gutierrez for out number 1.
Well, I would be totally remiss if not to admit that I have occasionally been told the same about this kid. Not often, but we work very closely with Baseball America, and I think that's a Cuban thing. I think probably any Cuban you meet, as our world manager is, he will admit to the same. We work very closely with Baseball America to identify the best prospects, but it's something we take very seriously. And in our office, we look at them too. We talk a lot with the major league clubs. The major league clubs evaluate too who they're really high on, because I think that says a lot about a player is what the organization thinks of him too.
Chris Burke rolls one to short, scooped up by Castillo, throwing to first while running that way, but he short hops Reyes, and Burke reaches. We'll see how they score that. That's one of those plays that I think a shortstop nowadays has to make, but it's not all that easy because everybody seems to be able to make it. Let's see, just a throw, just a little low. I think in time, of course, Reyes could pick that ball too.
I think the tough thing is Reyes has played first, but he's really moved to the outfield.
Yeah.
And so I think he's probably not used to those kind of short ups anymore.
Renee, save me from an error. It didn't happen as Castillo's been charged 1-on-1 out for J.J. Hardy. Now, why do I know this name, J.J. Hardy? He was the first-round pick of the D-Rays, right? Is that the J.J. Hardy I'm thinking of? A shortstop out of the Newport News area of Virginia? I'm from Virginia, so I might have heard that somewhere. And speaking of our home location.
Part of the Brewer organization's second-round pick in 2001.
Yeah. He gets fisted and broken back grounder to third. Marte making a nice play, throwing to first in time for out number 2. Score that 5-3 as Burke moves to second. We're tied at 1. U.S. batting in the bottom of the second. Now, Sylvia, you were, now I know you live in Bergen County, but you native of Cuba?
I actually was not born there, which my father always tells people was an accident. Now, that doesn't sound, that is not exactly the way it sounds.
We might need a longer inning.
My parents actually knew each other vaguely in Cuba, but they got married here. All my older cousins were born in Cuba. I was actually born in Staten Island. I always say I was born in an island, but not that one.
And I would guess that because you can speak Spanish, that's invaluable with the makeup of the world team most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, and we try very hard. The first thing we do with the world team is introduce the Canadians and Australians to each other because they kind of look forlorn. The first year, Luke Pope, Texas, Mears are all, sitting on the bus by themselves. So last year, Justin Huber, who's Australian, is walking around, and he was just kind of, there's Spanish going on everywhere in that clubhouse. So I said, Justin, come here. Let me introduce you. Here's Justin Morneau. He's Canadian. You can be friends with him. So make sure to do that. But I always apologize as well to the Asians that we usually have because we have most of the time they bring along their interpreters. The only other language I can do is French, and this is baseball. That's not helping me much.
As Dave Krenzel at the top of the order has a 2-ball, 1-strike count. Krenzel walked, stole second, and scored the game's run for the U.S. in the bottom of the first. Now, Gonzalez has pitched in the majors this year, hasn't he? As he misses with a slider inside. Doesn't he have some major league time? Just the same, because he's 7-2 in Tucson, but I thought he'd been called up.
Yeah, he came up for a couple of games.
Yeah, 2 starts, 11 innings, 7 earned runs. Talking about the D-backs and all the help they have had, especially when they had that 12-game winning streak from their Tucson affiliate as the fastball is fouled off to the left. And, in fact, we have the Tucson manager here, don't we? What is it?
Yes, Al Padrique, who's manager of the Tucson team, is one of the, he is one of the world coaches.
After this half inning, we'll be sending it back down to the Team USA dugout. Brian Mcrae securing interviews as we speak.
Gonzalez set for the payoff pitch to Krenzel. Fastball, broken back, grounder just wide of first. How about the coordination of getting the players here and giving them the accommodations that I would imagine you don't get in low A ball or double A, even double A ball? Because I still remember riding buses in double A ball.
That was one of the first things somebody said yesterday when they came in. They said, gee, these rooms are almost like the ones in Chattanooga. Not exactly, but...
Soap and shampoo. Wow.
In different receptacles. This is great. That's one of the things is that the guys get here and then they're so wide-eyed, and first of all they're grateful to be here, but they get here and then a lot of times we'll get questions, can we stay for the major league game? And we normally send it back on Monday so that they are able to play, and if they're single A or double A, they're probably playing still in regular season games. If they're in triple A, they'll have the all-star game.
Ground ball to second, bobbled momentarily by Nevar, but he picks it up in time and completes the play for 3 as the base runner is stranded at second. We've completed 2, and we're tied at 1.
As we continue here at the Futures game, let's go back down to the Team USA dugout where Brian Mcrae is standing by. BMAC?
Seth, how you doing?
How are you, BMAC?
I'm here in the USA dugout, as you said, with Kevin Youkilis. Kevin, I'm the Boston Red Sox. Talk a little about your experience here and how much fun are you having?
Oh, it's a great time. Just enjoying myself a lot. Just having fun with all these guys. Don't get to see these guys, for half the year. Get to play against some of them, but just having a great time, enjoying myself, and, hopefully we pull off this game and get a victory.
Talk a little bit about what's going on with you guys and how they've taken care of you, the accommodations, all first-class stuff. Not a lot you get like this in the minor leagues, do you?
No, not at all. The Super 8 motel's a lot, but, we get that a lot more than the Weston Hotel downtown on Magnificent Mile here. It's beautiful. It's great ordeal they got here with the food to the service to just everything from the clubhouse to the hospitality they provide for us. It's great.
The big league atmosphere makes you want to get back to the big leagues because it's kind of almost like playland, though. You're down in the minor leagues, you're striving to get to the big leagues, and you see this, and it kind of whets your appetite, doesn't it?
Oh, tremendously, yeah. You see this. We were talking about that when we were eating in there, like all the food, all the different stuff that you can just pick and choose from. It's awesome. And you just want to get back there. And when you're in big league spring training, you get sitting down to minor league spring training, you get that feeling like, oh, I want to get back up there as soon as possible, and that's what you get here.
Yeah, the minor leagues isn't the place to be. You hone your skills, you learn things there, but you don't want to stay there too long, do you?
No, you never want to stay in the minor leagues, but it's a step, you got to take your steps to get there. And going through the minor leagues is just one step to get into the big leagues, and you just got to take your time and have fun with it, and sooner or later you'll be up there.
When are we going to see you in action today?
I don't know yet. You have to ask the guy over there.
Nobody's told you anything yet?
No, not yet. We'll see, though.
All right, Kevin, thanks for spending some time with us. Enjoy yourself. Have a good time, and hopefully we'll see you in the game in a little bit.
Thanks a lot.
All right, back up to you guys.
Thanks a lot, BMAC. We'll get back to you as the game progresses. We are here live at the Futures game. We're going to the top of the third inning with a 1-1 tie between the World team and the U.S. team. We've got some emails and instant messages coming in, and we also have our next guest to welcome into the broadcast as well. Let's throw out the email address, radio@mlb.com, or the instant message screen name, MLB Radio Live. And joining us now, a frequent contributor from the Baseball America Hour, it's Jim Callis from Baseball America. And Jim, thanks a lot for hopping in once again at another Futures game as we get set for the top of the third.
Yeah, sure, no problem. This is, for us, the highlight of the All-Star week or weekend or however it's billed, but it's great to be back again.
Seth, we have a new hurler out there, and while we were saying goodbye to Sylvia, I didn't pick it up. A big right-hander, though. Jim, can you?
I think it's Gavin Floyd of the Phillies.
Okay.
Fourth overall pick in 2001.
And in fact, Brian Mcrae was just talking to him.
In our pregame show, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting with Gavin. Most organizations, he'd be hands down your best pitching prospect, but they drafted another good one last year in the first round, and Cole Hamels, a lefty.
who I would not be surprised at all if we see Cole Hamels out here next year in Houston at the Futures game.
The 2-1 to Nevar is taken low, 3-1 the count. Ramon doubled on the game's first pitch down the left field line, stole third, and scored ahead of a Franklin Gutierrez single to right field.
Let's try to sneak in some emails here during this half inning.
Oh, good sinker. Boy, 6'5", throw you a sinker like that. As Nevar swung over top of it.
Dave from Piedmont writes at MLB Radio Live, Rich Harden's performance seems to mirror the way he pitches in big spots. In spring training, he got lit up by the world champion Angels. In the All-Star game, he gave up a run over an inning with 2 walks. Do you think that at 21, he's not mentally ready for the big leagues yet? Jim, that'd be a question for you.
That's even a little bit harsh because it's one way of looking at it. You could also say he struck out Chad Tracy, Adam LaRoche, and Steve Smitherman with 3 pretty good hurlers. I wouldn't say that there's any anything lacking on the mental side. I think maybe he was a little bit pumped up, and it's probably the biggest game he's really ever pitched in. And I don't know if you guys have discussed this, but talking to people on the field, there's talk that he may get called up this week and start for Oakland on Friday.
Yeah, that's what Seth had brought up earlier. Nevar took the bat back to the dugout, swinging over top of a sinker, and it appears to me that Floyd's about 6'3", 6'4". And when you throw a hard sinker like that, it really has a lot of movement, a lot of vertical movement there, and it seems as though he threw some good ones to Nevar, as now he faces Alexis Gomez. Excuse me, go ahead.
I was going to say, Bill, another thing that makes him tough, too, not that I don't know how much these hitters have him scouted, is he's got a really tough curveball, too, so even if you knew enough to look for the sinker, if he throws a curveball, it's all over for you.
Yeah, you're looking at one zone, he throws you one in another. That's a recipe for a slump or two. I know a lot of us have been there.
Probably you more so than me or Seth, Billy, but...
Seth was talking about his Little League days, so Jim, if you have some American Legion days you want to talk about that?
I peeked out in Babe Ruth.
Well, that's 15, 16. That's close enough as Gomez loses the top hand on a running fastball and fouls into the mitt of Maurer for strike 2. 2-2 the count.
Gomez is another guy we could see in the majors fairly soon. If the Royals do wind up trading Carlos Beltran and don't get a center fielder back in the deal, you could see Gomez in the big leagues pretty soon.
Swings and misses at a slider that gets away from Maurer, so a strikeout. And the runner reaches on a wild pitch. Gomez at first now. 1 out for Rene Reyes.
Tom from Toronto writes us at radio@MLB.com. Hello, all. I keep hearing that a player loses eligibility once called up to the big leagues, but I recall an interleague series in June here in Toronto between the Cubs and Jays where David Kelton started for the Cubs. Perhaps you have to accumulate a certain amount of plate appearances in the big leagues, and he didn't get there and was sent back to AAA. Just wondering. Great showcase as usual.
Losing eligibility for what? I didn't understand the question.
I think he means playing in the game, and you don't lose eligibility for playing in the game when you get called up. It's only if you're in the big leagues, obviously. Like I'm sure you guys have heard of some of the guys who, like Dan Herron, for instance, for the Cardinals. Obviously he's not going to play in the game. If he's with St. Louis, they're not going to ship him in, but Kelton
is with the big club, right?
Well, no, he was. He got sent down. I think that's why this guy could
okay.
Last year, the Cubs had another guy in the same boat, Francis Beltran, had been promoted for about a week after getting picked for the Futures game, but then he got sent down before the game, and so he came back to the game. And
could you imagine if Kelton was playing in this Futures game then heading over to Wrigley tonight?
I thought that was what was happening. Line drive to center off the bat of Reyes. And it's caught, and they're going to try to double up Gomez, and they do. Strong throw by Krenzel, Dave Krenzel, out of the Brewers organization. We were talking about him earlier. Saw him in spring training. Line drive and 8-3 on the double play. And so in spite of giving up the wild pitch base runner, the World team goes up and down in order in their half of the third. We go to the bottom of the third, and we remain tied at 1.
Back to the World dugout now where Zach Daneman is standing by.
Seth, I'm standing here for the guy who is the latest in the long line of pitching prospects that have come out of the Oakland A's organization. Rich Harden, who started this game. Rich, take a look at that mound. Zito, Mulder, Huston, they've all pitched on that mound. What was it like for you?
It was really exciting. Pitching in front of this many fans, I was maybe a little too excited for the first little bit. I had to kind of calm myself down, so it was a lot of fun.
What's that like, actually? Because in the minor leagues, you have some folks that attend, but not like this, not this type of stadium.
Not this type of stadium, no. It's something. It's fun.
What'd you learn?
Learn how to learn to calm myself down in front of this many people. So.
Do you think it's a good thing to face this kind of pressure at this young age?
I think it's a great thing. You know, you got to get used to it sometime in your life. So.
For guys who haven't seen you, who would you compare yourself to?
I don't even know. I say I'm my own pitcher myself. So.
But who did you grow up watching and saying, hey, you know what, I like that guy. I want to be sort of like him?
That's a funny question. I actually grew up watching more hockey than baseball. I'm from Canada. So.
Absolutely. So who'd you root for?
Toronto Maple Leafs, Vancouver Canucks, a little bit of both.
Yeah, but you had to root for Larry Walker, Tom Glavine. You know, Tom Glavine, I know he's not Canadian, but he played hockey.
Larry Walker, sure, yeah. I did.
I'm sitting here with a hockey guy at a Futures game. Who knew? Rich, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, back upstairs.
Well, the one question that was missing there, was he a mucker or a grinder, Billy?
I don't know. He's probably a skilled player. With that kind of talent, you probably don't have to muck or grind. With Jim Callis from Baseball America. And Jim, as you look around and see the crowd here, looks like it's going to approach 25.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive turnout. And I think, you know, I live here in Chicago, so I have a little bit better feel than usual to how it gets promoted. And they've done a good job of putting the word out. Local papers have done features on the Futures game. And I think the game's been around long enough now. This is year 5, where I think people have a recognition of what the game is. Not just, I mean, I think minor leaguers obviously is something they aspire to during the season. But I think fans are starting to, with the coverage that gets on MLB radio and on ESPN, know what the Futures game is all about, and there's a lot more interest in it than there necessarily was when it first started.
U.S. team batting in the bottom of the third, and we're tied at 1. Both teams scoring in the first inning. Grady Sizemore drove in the U.S. run. And Sung Song is on the hill, representing the Montreal Expos.
In his third Futures game.
First pitch drilled deep to right. Back on the track is Gomez. He looked up because it's gone. Grady Sizemore greets Sung Song rather rudely. And as he does, the U.S. takes a 2-1 lead.
I know it's early, Billy, but we may be seeing an early MVP candidate. You know, the amount of at-bats these guys get to go and drive in 2 runs with a home run and a double kind of helps. Grady Sizemore making his statement early.
It's interesting, both these guys were involved with trades when the Expos were doing all their wheeling and dealing last year. Sizemore was one of 3 very good prospects traded by the Expos to get Bartolo Colon. Yep. And then Song was the guy they picked up when they traded for Cliff Floyd and then traded him again to Boston. Song was the key player in that deal.
Chad Tracy takes a fastball strike. And a curveball is fouled at the plate, so quickly Song ahead of the count, 2 strikes. You ever figure out, Jim, how some organizations like the Expos seem always to have talent in their minor league system, and it comes to the majors, and for whatever number of reasons they can't hold on to it, especially after the '94 labor impasse, and they had to trade off everybody because they couldn't make the payroll that they had. But going all the way back in the 70s, it seems as though they've had more talent than other people. I don't know what they do with their scouts or if they pay them differently, but they certainly have earned their pay.
Well, unfortunately, I mean, with Major League Baseball taking over the team and the ownership of people and all that, I think a lot of the scouts who were there for a number of years have actually left. But it's just, I think they had a good run at scouting. I don't think it was necessarily, you know, paying them more. I think it's just, you know, guys like Gary Hughes and
who's now with the Cubs.
And Gary Hughes with the Cubs. Ed Creech was there for a lot of guys who went to the Marlins and, you know, built the Marlins, you know, brief, 1-year team that won the World Series. You were responsible. You're right. I mean, going back to guys like Andre Dawson and Gary Carter in the 70s, it just seemed like for years, every year they would pick guys out.
Tracy Skies one to right. Gomez comes in and calls off Nevar for out number 1.
And as far as the Expos continuing to wheel and deal, they were talking with Texas about Juan Gonzalez, and Sung Song's name had been mentioned. Might you see Sung Song's name be continued to be used as a bargaining chip as the Expos continue to look toward the rest of this season and perhaps add a player if they continue to remain in contention?
I think you could, because one thing, and again, Omar Minay's hands have really been tied. I mean, his situation is so much different than any of the other GMs, but he's traded so much talent last year to try to supplement the big league club that they don't have the prospect depth that they used to have. So Song is one of their better prospects, and I think he very well could be on the move they could find a trade. And again, his hands are tied too, because I don't think they're really allowed to add any salary. So anybody he trades with is probably going to have to pick up the remainder of whatever contract he picks up, because basically all the players in Montreal who are making good money are pretty much good players. They don't want to trade them.
Adam LaRoche, the batter, and the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes to him.
You know, Adam LaRoche, everybody knows about his dad, obviously, Dave, a big league reliever for a long time and played in a couple All-Star games. But he's got a little brother, Andy, who's a really good shortstop prospect. Spent 2 years in junior college at Grayson County Community College. And I was just talking to Adam about Andy before the game. Andy actually broke his leg 2 nights ago in the Cape Cod League. So he's out for the summer. He's drafted by the Dodgers this year, but he'll probably wind up going to Rice and play for the defending Carlton Series champions next year.
And his leg will heal by that time as LaRoche lines a base hit to right field.
Yeah, he was playing. He's mainly played shortstop and I guess some second base, but he's playing first base last night and came up the line to take a throw and the runner ran into him. So it's not a terrible break, but it broke a bone, and he may be able to get back by the end of the season, but more than likely probably not play again this summer.
One of the things that impresses me, Jim, with you and your colleagues is that you know that kind of stuff, that intricate stuff. You know high school and college and junior college coaches, and I don't know, this is a sort of a big country and a big continent, and you seem to know those a little bit. How deep do you have to go in your time to get that kind of detail, to know that so-and-so's high school coach is out of Aurora, Illinois, or something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we spend a lot of time, talking to people, but I always, when people say something like that, I think one of the reasons that we're able to do what we do is just the amount of cooperation we get from people, virtually every level of baseball. And I don't know if it's just because when Alan Simpson found the magazine 23 years ago, just built up some relationships that have lasted, and people like what we do, but, I mean, pretty much from a GM down to the lowliest guy in a front office to any level of baseball, if we call and say we're from Baseball America, and very rarely does someone say, well, we really don't want to go into that. You may get something off the record where they'll tell us that they don't really want it for publication, but we just get a tremendous amount of cooperation from just about everybody. So we do spend a lot of time digging and seeking out information and asking questions, but it still amazes me. I've worked there for, I guess, about 15 years now, and it still amazes me just the cooperation we get. Even with the June draft, and we can call guys up, 2 days before the draft, and they'll give us detailed scouting reports on players. What I think it is? I think people just really like to talk baseball, and a lot of these guys, since we're involved in so many facets of baseball, they like to talk. They like to talk about as much as we like to ask about it.
Song sends Carlton back to the dugout with the bat for a strikeout on a breaking ball. Carlton had a fastball swing, and we have an email.
Quick email from Jim in New York, writes us at MLB Radio Live, as can you. Why isn't Brendan Clausen in the majors? He had some great numbers in the minors and was great against the Mets. I'm just wondering what is going to happen with him and what his ceiling is.
He's got a pretty high ceiling. He's a guy who came back very, very quickly from Tommy John surgery last year and looked good. He got a start. I guess it was a couple weeks ago, but I think the Yankees, it's no secret, have pretty much an abundance of starting pitching options. And Steinbrenner has never really seemed to be a guy who's like to play a lot of rookies necessarily, and when you've got veterans making $5-6 million or more, those guys are going to stay in the rotation until deals are made. But I would be real surprised if either A, he's not traded in some kind of major deal, or B, he works his way into the rotation at some point next year.
Steven Smitherman greeted Sung with a line drive double down the left field line. So we have runners at second and third for Joe Mauer. Mauer takes a pitch just a little bit low and inside for ball one. Joe lined to left his first time. He's a property of the Minnesota Twins, first round pick a couple of years ago.
It seems like every year we have a couple former football players in this game. I think a lot of people know that Mauer could have been Chris Weinke's successor at Florida State as quarterback, and they both went to the same high school. And what people may not realize too is that Grady Sizemore was a pretty big-time wide receiver prospect who's going, I believe, to the University of Washington before the Expos signed him to a $2 million bonus. So I don't know if those guys loosened up with a football and ran some patterns out in the outfield or not, but both those guys could have been, big-time Division I football players.
Joe Mauer came over to FanFest yesterday, along with his teammate J.D. Durbin, and we shot a little video piece with him for Access Baseball, and one of the things that he was saying was that he gets recognized more often since the draft, since his face is basically all over the internet, and found himself one of the focal points. And I said, well, that's what happens when you almost go to college football. People care about college football a lot.
Yep. And he was legitimate. It wasn't, sometimes these guys or other sports get embellished, but Lou Mauer, I mean, he was, one of the top 3 or 4 high school quarterback recruits in the country.
And a 1-2 curveball is chopped near the bag at second, cut off by Castillo, and he shows off his arm as he retires Mauer 6-3. And the U.S. team out of their half of the third, not before a leadoff Grady Sizemore home run, as he is vying for MVP already. He has 2 hits, driven in both 2 runs for the U.S. team, and the U.S. team leads by that 2-1 margin.
Remember, we have only 4 innings left as this is a 7-inning broadcast. Let's go down to the field where Brian Mcrae is standing by in the U.S. dugout. Brian?
Thank you, Seth. I'm here with the starting pitcher for the USA team, Neal Cotts. Neal, were you a little nervous out there? How'd things go?
Definitely a little nervous to start off with, and first pitch getting hit for a double didn't help out a whole lot. But I got through it, so it was okay.
How much fun have you had the last few days being here, being brought in, kind of whisking around, checking out Chicago, and just being treated like a big leaguer?
It's been a special week, and they treat us very nice up here, and it's definitely something to work forward to.
You're from Illinois. You went to Illinois State. Were you a White Sox Cub fan, Cardinal fan? Who'd you watch when you were growing up?
I watched the Cardinals. I lived about 20 minutes outside of St. Louis, so they were my team when I was growing up.
And hopefully you get to the big leagues soon, and you have a lot of people that still live down in that area can come up here and see. It has to be fun to be in an organization like the White Sox. They look like young pitchers are the premium, and they're starting to call some guys up and giving guys some chances. So you have to feel good about your opportunities here, don't you?
Definitely. There's a lot of movement been going on throughout the organization, and as long as I keep doing what I'm doing, hopefully things will work out.
Now, you're a lefty how do you categorize yourself? Throwing the mid-90s, good breaking ball. What are your main things you're trying to work on to establish some more consistency in what you're doing pitching-wise?
Just command the strike zone a little bit more and get the curveball over for strikes a little more. And if I do that, I should be okay.
I saw you talking to Carlton Fisk a little bit earlier. What did he have to say to you? What kind of words and what did you pick up from him?
Well, we were talking about how they got the leadoff double, and then we were just basically talking about sometimes I rush the pitches a few times. He said take a step back, take a breath, relax a little bit more, and go after him.
How does that feel for him to take the time to come over and talk to you and kind of try to help you out a little bit?
Well, it's definitely special. He's a Hall of Famer, and he's had a lot of great pitchers he's caught, and he knows a lot, so it's nice.
All right, Neal, well, enjoy yourself. Thank you for spending some time with us, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
All right, back up to you, Seth.
Thanks a lot, B-Mac. And, of course, we'll hear from both the Team USA and the World Team dugouts throughout the afternoon as the Futures game continues. 3 innings in the book. And, again, it's a 7-inning broadcast and a 7-inning game. This is the 5th annual Futures game. And a few former MLB.com radio guests, Zach Greinke, is now pitching, and we'll have to see if that MLB.com radio blessing comes into fruition here in the 4th.
Because I've seen some features on Zach now. He's the kind of kid that has a lot of command. What is he, 19?
Yeah, I think he's 19.
Jim Callis from Baseball America with us, as well as he delivers a fastball that catches the outside part of the plate. It looks like it had a little velocity to it.
He's a guy who has a good arm, but they all, you talk to scouts, and I think they're almost more impressed with his approach for his age. And before the game, he was talking about he wasn't sure what approach he wanted to take, and he said he could hit 95 if he wanted.
Yeah,
out there and throw
that's what I saw that
feature. He could hit 95,
yeah.
but then he also said, or I could maybe throw 3-4, throw low 90s and just have the ball move all over the place. And when a guy can do both those things, and he's cognizant of being able to do both, he's very tough, as Pete Laporos just found out.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. The last good night was something sinking, and Laporos had a fastball swing, and Pete takes the bat back to the dugout. 1 up, 1 out for Franklin Gutierrez, the left fielder. He has an RBI single driving in the world's lone run. 2 runs, 4 hits for USA. 1 run, 2 hits, and 1 error for the world team. Greinke delivers. Slider strike. Geez, he has command of everything he throws up there.
This might be a really quick inning for Zach right here.
Second pitch, a high fly ball to left. Sizemore back on the track, and Grady will have room. Catches about 4 steps in front of the track, route number 2.
I don't know if you guys talked about this before, but in the first inning, does anybody even know, was Harden the first guy to ever strike out the side in the Futures game? I don't reckon. We need a big
Futures game record
or something. But
I'm going to send somebody on the research for that one.
Or call Xerox.
And last inning, I'm pretty sure Song is probably the first guy to play in 3 features.
Yeah, we did mention that.
And Chen would have been. Chin-Feng Chen would have been as well. Would have joined him had he not been promoted on Friday.
Right, Kevin Brown went on the DL.
Slider higher in the strike zone for strike to Quiros. Guillermo grounded to third his first time.
7 pitches, 7 strikes.
Had a fastball swing chasing a slider across the plate for strike 2.
We are here in Chicago, which means not only are we at the White Sox Park, but the Cubs have a certain flavor in this town. And Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks, will be joining us in just a couple minutes at the end of this half inning.
Let's play 2. We're only playing 7 innings.
Wait, what did we with tie? Did we go extra innings?
Yeah, they did that in 2000.
Okay.
It was a 9-inning game, and people don't realize that's an extra inning game.
And I was there, and I'd forgotten that. That was Atlanta, right?
Yes, it was.
Fastball, cut fastball, just missed the outside part of the plate. Greinke tried to show you that he had another pitch, a slow changeup. Now the count even to 2.
And the series is tied 2-2.
And a fly ball over our heads. Fastball out of play. 2-2 to count.
But home field advantages are not at stake here today, in anything.
This time it still doesn't count. But whoever wins the game determine who bats, who gets to be the home team next year.
I was going to say if the world team,
home team advantage.
I was going to say if the world team wins, do they get to go to one of their native countries?
Well, we just take the game south from Houston to Mexico, I guess.
Greinke has pitched at a couple of stops this year and has made 15 starts and has given up next to nothing. Right-hander delivers a slide. Oh, catches the outside part of the plate. Hard slider. Might have been a cut fastball. So Greinke strikes out 2, and he goes to a 1-2-3 world top of the 4th. We go to the bottom of the 4th, and it remains 2-1 U.S.
Let's go back down to the field now. Very special guest, Zach Zaidman, standing by. Zach, who do you have?
Ernie Banks is with us, and you know this is his kind of town. Mr. Cub watching the Futures game with us. Ernie, you've seen so much baseball in your lifetime. What have you seen today that impresses you?
Well, I just love it. I mean, this is just wonderful to see these young men play and see that desire for this wonderful game of baseball. But what I've seen so far is they play with enthusiasm. The pitching is very strong. This one kid with the athletics, I mean, had a real great arm. But they're putting everything in it. They want to win. And I just wish all of them have an opportunity to play in the major leagues and play for the Cubs.
The Cubs doing well this year, and a lot of people are saying that Dusty Baker's had some magical effect on the team. From what you've seen out of the Cubs, what impresses you there?
I see that. I mean, I see Dusty has a tremendous amount of enthusiasm. He's a very positive young man. He knows how to win, and those are things I really like about him. And I'm just so happy to be around him. I'm happy that he's with the Cubs. I'm happy that he's with an organization that is looking forward to bringing a world championship to the north side of Chicago.
Dare you say it?
The north side of Chicago, a world championship.
Can you believe that, guys? Ernie Banks is talking about a potential world championship at Wrigley Field. From your mouth to God's ears, right?
From my mouth to God's ears. But Dusty's doing great. We got a little situation we went through the last week or so, but it's a good team with strong pitching, and Sammy's coming around, and we're going to try to make a few trades. I guess that's what they're talking about, and who knows what can happen. The division is very tight, so I have a lot of confidence in Dusty and Chicago Cubs.
Hey, with Pryor and Wood, they've got a pitching staff that's going to win you some games. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the All-Star game that we're going to see Tuesday. This time it counts, but back when you played, boy, the National League dominated the game, and I was talking with Tommy Lasorda a little bit earlier, and he said there was nothing more important than the National League showing that they were a better league than the American League. Are you happy? Do you think that we're going to see that type of atmosphere again?
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of competition, and the National League players certainly going to look forward to winning the game. So are the American League players. It's going to be really exciting. I mean, I'm really looking forward to the game. Great pitching, great defense, great speed. It's a well-balanced ball club. I'm just sorry that Sammy Sosa's not on the team, and my other good friend, Frank Thomas, who played here for the White Sox. But anyway, I think it's going to be a really fine ball game, and I'm looking forward to the National League to win, win, win.
Good luck there. You know what's funny? You talk about Chicago icons and the Big Herd and Slam and Sammy, and both are not here. It really is amazing. Good point, Ernie. I know that's something that Seth's talked about for the last few weeks, that those guys should be on the team, right?
Absolutely. I was waiting for the extra vote of confidence from Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks, as we head down to the bottom of the fourth here on MLB.com radio.
And Chris Burke takes a fastball high, and I'm going to ask Jim Callis of Baseball America to pronounce the name of the young man on the mound.
He's not as tough as he looks. It's Chin-Wee Sal.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the Rockies. He's another guy who's come back from Tommy John surgery. He had Tommy John surgery, I want to say, toward the end of 2001, and he worked his way slowly back last year, and obviously he's gotten back on top of his game because here he is this year at the Features game.
And that slider caught the plate, didn't get the call. 2-1 to count. One of the things, Jim, I was thinking about earlier today is that it seems to me that there are a lot of minor league pitchers coming back from Tommy John surgery.
Even college baseball, too. I mean, you have guys who have Tommy John surgery as freshmen, and, you know, one example of that is Kurt Ainsworth, who's been up with the Giants for a lot this year, had Tommy John surgery early in his career at LSU, and was a first-round pick a couple years later. I think it's just that there's so much more understanding of how to do that surgery and how to recuperate from it and how to rehab from it that there's any number of guys who have it performed and it's a success. And I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard too. It seems like a lot of guys come back, and I've been told it's because of the grueling rehabilitation process, but they come back with actually better stuff than they had before they had the surgery in the first place.
Sal in the windup, and now time is called. New battery to Justin Huber behind the plate for the World team, replacing Guillermo Quiros. Slider, strike three, catching the front door. The one that you throw at the batter, and it catches the inside part of the plate, close enough to the body where you cannot extend your hands.
Tom in Toronto writes this at radio at MLB.com. Hey, guys, this Nevar character has stumped my Baseball America 2003 prospect handbook. Could you possibly flesh out this guy for me? What organization? When drafted? Highest level played? Mr. Callis, I think the reason you guys are so respected at all levels of baseball is because you started off as quite a small periodical with a small distribution, and the distribution grew. You never lost the feel of a smaller periodical. People respond to that. Also, in order to read Baseball America, you have to love the game. This is not something you'd recommend to the novice baseball fan. You guys carry a lot of weight in the industry. Therefore, it doesn't surprise me that people are so cooperative with you. That's from Tom in Toronto.
Well, those are nice words from Tom. I'm going to disappoint him here a little bit. Nevar was not in the prospect handbook, and he had a name change. And I cannot remember his original name. Exactly. You know, we didn't have enough Ramon Martinez's involved with baseball, I guess. So anyway, his name has changed, but I believe I think he just went up to AAA, didn't he? I don't have the stats in front of me I think recently, I know he's spent most of the year, I want to say, in AA, but, you know, played some second base, played some outfield. And, you know, I don't think anybody doubts you. You're starting with the major leagues with guys like Hank Blaylock and Mark Teixeira. The Rangers have plenty of hitting. If they can just find some pitching to go with some of these guys who are on the way, they're going to be quite a team in the future.
Yeah, with the name change, I knew that was going to catch those guys.
J.J. Hardy reaches for a pretty nasty 2-2 breaking ball and finds a hole in left field. 1 on, 1 out as we go to the top of the order. And is that Dave Krenzel? He's still in the game? Okay. Dave walked leading off the world half, or the U.S. half of the first, stole a base and scored on an RBI single by Sizemore as the left-handed batter takes the ball outside.
We've got Grady Sizemore. Looks like he's going to get a third at-bat so he can wrap up the Larry Doby trophy if he comes through.
Runner going. Pitch is cut on and missed to throw to second in time.
I thought he had that base stolen.
Huber there.
It looked like he had that base stolen. He got a good jump, and that throw got down there quick. I mean, Huber's known for being more of an offensive catcher than a defensive catcher, but that was right there on the bag. You know, kind of perfect throw.
You're right, Jim. Usually if you get 4 to 5 steps before the pitcher delivers the ball, then you pretty much have that base in your back pocket.
And J.J. Hardy runs well, too, so it wasn't like it was a botched hit and run or anything like that. It was a straight steal, and nice play by Justin Huber.
Pitch low and inside to Krenzel. I would think in this situation, I'd be surprised if either manager would have the hit and run. I think they would just let the players have a straight steal attempt if at all possible. Shallow fly ball into the triangle in short right center. And coming on quickly is Gomez for out number 3. Nice running play by the right fielder as, in spite of the 1-out base hit to the left, the world team, the U.S. team goes up and down in order in their half and fourth. After 4, the U.S. leads 2-1. Do we have an email?
We have plenty of emails to get to in just a couple of seconds. Radio@MLB.com. That's radio@MLB.com. Also, you can instant message us if you have AOL, the AOL for broadband, or the AOL Instant Messenger. You can join us, as always, right here on MLB.com radio. Your screen name that you send the IM to is MLB Radio Live. So we will do that. As we continue here, let's go back down now to the Team USA dugout where Brian Mcrae is standing by. D-Mac?
Thank you, Seth. So we have Chad Tracy here with the USA team. You having a little bit of fun today?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm done now, but it was fun being around these guys and competing against this world team over here. It was fun.
When you see the big league club and what Diamondbacks are doing with a lot of young players been able to come up and help that team stay in the race, does that make you guys down in the minor leagues feel good because you know that you're going to get opportunity also if you continue to play well?
Sure. I mean, actually, my roommate went up about a month ago, and he's up there, every day playing. I talk to him all the time. He says my time. So we'll get reunited up there one day.
How much fun have you had with this whole experience and what they've done to you guys? Made you feel like big leaguers, treating you first class, and kind of bouncing you around and showing you things the big league way?
Oh, it's fun. It gives you something to look forward to and makes you want to work harder to get there.
What are some of the things that you're trying to work on down in the minor leagues to hone your game so you can get to the big leagues a little bit quicker?
I need to probably just refine the defense at third base, make sure I'm using my feet, and, just stay within myself at the plate.
All right, Chad, well, thank you for spending some time with us, and enjoy the rest of your time here in Chicago, and good luck for the rest of the way in your season.
Thank you.
All right, Seth, back up to you and Billy.
Thanks a lot, Brian Mcrae, and he continues to peruse the Team USA dugout as we go to the top of the 5th, the 2-1 game. Tightly contested game. We've seen flashes of offense, Billy, early on, and especially Grady Sizemore's bat has been huge in this game.
Yeah, and he has, I think, one more at bat. So right now, I think he's the front runner for the MVP. I guess you can have the MVP in the situation from the losing team in case the world team comes back. Batting now in the top of the 5th. Alexis Rios stepping into the batter's box.
Then the question would be, what does it take to get the world team ahead if they come back and win this game? If they do get that second and third run, whoever participates in that might get the MVP.
A cued infield hit, a stolen base, a throw goes to center, a wild pitch scores, and something like that you wouldn't get the MVP for. And yet, what's the new pitcher?
Clint Peugeot.
Thank you. And his first pitch is drilled to right. Back is Smitherman. At the wall, he looks up because it's gone. The second time a home run has been hit on the first pitch. This time by the world team. Alex Rios evens the game at 2 apiece.
Just crushed the first pitch from Peugeot. And Peugeot's not a nothing prospect for that Seattle ball club. And he has had a projection of 2004, 2005 right now in Double-A, but his first pitch crushed to right field.
Yeah, to the opposite way. Rios giving the scouts an example of his power as Andy Marte, the third baseman, takes a fastball strike. Well, if you were nervous to start with, now that's sort of got your focus. Sinker misses low and inside, and the count evens at 1 ball and 1 strike.
We can't have this game end in a tie.
Because this time it counts. The 1-1 slider goes all the way back to the backstop, moving away from Maurer to his right.
Well, now you're starting to see more and more changes as well.
The Jote 9-2. Is that a different backstop? Is it still Maurer? No, Mathis. That's Mathis behind the plate now. As Marte swings and foul tips a pitch into the mid of Mathis. I want to say that's Jeff Mathis. And it is.
Good thing you want to say it.
Yep. Ooh, almost hit him. Fouled rib high. Just got out of the way, did Marte. And the count runs full.
You got to wonder what a home run like that does to Clinton Peugeot. Just the idea of rattling him just a bit. Struggling with his control after.
Payoff pitch. Ooh, a slider, and a good piece of laying off that hard slider by Marte. So 1 in, 1 on, nobody out for the bottom of the order, and Jose Castillo.
Just so you know, this is just part of our All-Star Week coverage. It commences with the Futures game tomorrow, bright and early. MLB.com radio presents the All-Star press conferences featuring the All-Star managers, starting pitchers, and all the All-Star media availability. So that's a big production from MLB.com radio. We'll be there to tune in. And also, tomorrow night, the Home Run Derby. Billy, we talked about it earlier, the participants in the Home Run Derby.
I think ESPN is still begging for a National League star, aren't they?
Well, there's one
spot open.
One spot open.
Ooh, good change after throwing a fastball 89 miles an hour on the outside part of the plate. And Castillo behind the count, 2 strikes.
And it is going to be one National Leaguer missing. Garrett Anderson, Brett Boone, Carlos Delgado, and Jason Giambi for the American League. Jim Edmonds, Albert Pujols, and Gary Sheffield for the NL.
The 0-2 looked like a splitter. Castillo had a fastball swing. And Jose will take the bat back to the dugout as we go to the top of the order. 1 in, 1 on, 1 out for Ramon Nevar. Nope, looks like, is that Ramon or a pinch batter? No, the pinch batter. He's talking to the umpire, so he's
announcing himself?
Yep, exactly what he's doing.
It looks like Robinson Cano.
And you're correct, sir.
One of the New York Yankees prospects in Single-A Tampa, hitting .282 this season.
Batting from the left side. Marte at first. Good lead there, about a 3.5-step lead. Not running as he takes the fastball strike.
Remember, by this time last year at the Futures game, we had a 4-run deficit, so it was just a different atmosphere. This is a 2-2 ball game. Everybody wants to not make a mistake, really.
The set and a swing and a miss at a sinking fastball on the outside part of the plate. And Cano behind the count, 2 strikes. 5 homers and 50 ribbies in A-ball this year.
Last year in the South Atlantic League, he made the All-Star team, and this year he's been named to the West team in the Florida State League. So All-Star events are not a strange experience for Robinson Cano.
I think he should get to the major leagues in 2 or 3 years or so, maybe a little bit longer because you're a Yankee. Bounce, nice play by Mathis moving to his right as Jeff kept that ball in front of him.
In reality, though, if you are high on a prospect list, does that not tell you something about perhaps, and I'm just throwing this out there, perhaps when you come up in the system you have no idea what uniform you're really going to wear? Just because it's so commonplace, really, to see the Yankees wheel and deal, and not necessarily that they dish out prospects just to give them away, but this is not something that would be new to New York.
Oh, a nasty slider, and Cano swung and missed, cutting over it, and he will take the bat back to second. Strikeout by Najo. How do you say that? I'm having trouble with names today.
Najo.
It is French. N-A-V-E-O-T-T-E. Najo. And manager Carlton Fisk going out to the mound. Now, I wonder if this is a point of the game where you're going to start making a lot of pitching changes. It seems as though Najo's having trouble getting loose, and Fisk indeed is pointing to the bullpen. So he will make a pitching change. And I don't think Carlton thought about making that change until he got to the mound. And you see that Najo was
maybe wanted to
loosening
see how
his shoulder a little bit. Yeah,
exactly.
Looks like he had some shoulder tightness possibly. He was throwing the ball well after giving up the home run to Rios to the opposite field.
Well, as the pitching change is being made, J.D. Durbin from the Twins organization coming on. We'll take a quick timeout. You're listening to the 2003 Futures game on MLB.com radio.
I'm Derek Jeter. When I was growing up, my parents and I would go to the schoolyard every weekend and play ball. They teach me how if I practiced and didn't give up, my swing could get better. But if I got in front of the ball and wasn't afraid, I could stop it. But there weren't any shortcuts to becoming a better player. But if I believed in myself, I could do it. Funny, all that time, I thought they were teaching me how to play baseball.
Helping your kids find a dream can help keep them off drugs. This message brought to you by Partnership for Drug-Free America. Visit us at drugfreeamerica.org.
As the Tom McFarlane Show enters our second season, a lot of people are wondering what the ideal comic book for Tom McFarlane would be.
Forget the Justice League. Forget the Avengers. I've got one that would be a terrific all-star lineup. First, we got Batman at first base. We got the Flash at second. He's nimble, can turn to double play. We've got Wonder Woman at shortstop. She can cover the ground. And, of course, Superman, who plays all three outfield positions. Spawn's in the bullpen. And, of course, we can't forget the thing behind the plate because he can block anybody coming around third.
The Tom McFarlane Show, Thursdays on MLB Radio.
Check out one of the more fun personalities in the game today on the Brett Tomko Show. The Cardinals righty joins MLB.com radio every other Wednesday at 12:30 in the afternoon with Jonathan Mayo and me, Billy Sample. Baseball runs through his family's blood.
My mom, I'll tell you what, my mom, she's a huge baseball nut, and she somewhat obsessed in a bad way. We used to get in brawls a little bit because she'd call me, and I, instead of being the motherly person, she would bust out, I don't think you're throwing enough off speed. And I'm just like, come on, Mom. She's supposed to say, you did all right, son.
Yeah, you'll get him next time. Tomko knows how to jab at himself as well.
My bro knows what he's talking about. He didn't draft me again this year on the Fantasy League, which might be a smart thing.
There isn't a reason not to jump on the Brett Tomko bandwagon with the Brett Tomko Show Wednesdays at 12:30 in the afternoon Eastern Time only on MLB.com radio.
Back here at U.S. Cellular Field in Chicago, we continue here in the top of the fifth. J.D. Durbin from the Minnesota Twins organization coming on in relief of Clint DeJote, who seemingly had trouble getting loose. Not sure if it was an actual injury. DeJote's still on the dugout. But J.D. Durbin, who along with Joe Mauer are from AA New Britain. And not only are they teammates, but they are actually roommates. As the pinch hitter PA steps in. And Durbin goes to the belt with a man on first. And the first pitch inside for ball one. Felix PA from the Chicago Cubs organization playing for the World Team. We have two outs and we're in a 2-2 ball game between the World Team and the U.S. team. Runner leads off first. Durbin to the belt. And the pitch swung on a miss. Strike one. Steve Brown. PA from Single A Lansing, hitting .287, 2 homers, 33 RBI. The 1-1 pitch at the letters for strike two, and the count now 1 ball and 2 strikes.
So Durbin pitches to somebody other than Mauer. His running buddy.
That's right. His roommate. They, of course, were touring Fan Fest yesterday, the All-Star Fan Fest that precipitates each and every All-Star game, at least lately. And the pitch, foul tip back toward the screen. Count remains 1-2. But the key for these guys is that fans will get a chance to log on to Access Baseball and see just what kind of personalities these guys have. And then as their careers ascend, assuming they are on the path that the Minnesota Twins General Manager Terry Ryan seems to think they are, it'll be cool to see you knew them when. 1-2 pitch. Lofted foul left side now. Behind the screen, and the count now 1 ball and 2 strikes.
And one of the good things, Seth, I think, for all these players who can have any way of emitting some kind of talent. You don't have to have a good day. You can make a tremendous throw like Krenzel threw to double up a base runner, 8-3. You have everybody here. You have not only Terry Ryan, you have Sid Thrift, you have David Littlefield, you have all the major players in the major leagues. Players being the front office type players.
And the pitch swung on and missed, strike 3. So J.D. Durbin's lone hitter is a strikeout of Felix PA. And that'll do it for the World Team as we'll head to the bottom of the 5th with the score all tied up at 2-2. Let's head down to the World Team dugout where Zach Zaidman is standing by. Zach, who do you have?
I'm with Guillermo Quiroz, a catcher in the Toronto Blue Jays organization. And since we are in the World dugout, I should say that we're on MLB.com radio. But the interesting thing is Guillermo worked on his English so he could communicate better with the pitchers. That's really helped you out, hasn't it?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, it's been helping me in my whole career. This is my 5th year playing ball, and
I think that was a smart move. My agent support before I signed them.
That's huge, the fact that you can communicate in both languages, obviously, because there is such an international flavor to Major League Baseball. Does that make you more advantageous to other people? Do pitchers want to throw to you because you have that ability?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know that, but what I know is that it helped me a lot. It's been helping me my whole career, like I said, and that's what you got to do, right? I mean, you got to do what they want.
There's so many different ways to catch nowadays. When you were growing up, who did you look at and say, that's the guy I want to be like?
I was watching my whole life Martey Rodriguez, man. That's been getting wise. I've been looking for my fiesta.
Nice combination. If you're like both of them, you're going to be in good shape.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, to be honest with you.
What's it like to play under this atmosphere, this big stadium, this big crowd, and what's on the line? You know, a lot of people are watching.
I mean, it feels great. You know, it's a privilege for me to be playing with this guy right here in this field. Beautiful field. You know, I never played in a big league field before in my life, and it just feels real good, real great.
Now that you have, you want to come back, right?
Oh, yeah, believe that.
Good luck, man. Guillermo Quiroz, catcher in the Toronto Blue Jays organization. Guys, back upstairs.
Thanks a lot, Zach. And, of course, we are pleased to welcome into the broadcast as we go to the bottom of the fifth, the director of the Major League Baseball Scouting Bureau, Frank Marcos. Frank, always good to see you again. How are you?
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure to be here. Great day for baseball, huh?
Yeah, perfect. Not a bit of humidity. Just a great breeze. Very comfortable out there.
Well, I tell you, the games that we've seen the last few years, this is a much more pleasant place to be scouting, believe me.
It's good for you to see. I just mentioned all the front office executives here, all the general managers and vice presidents. It's good for you to see these people as well, because you've accumulated all the data on the people that they're watching.
Billy, going back to the first few games of this event, it was very few general managers and scouting directors that made a point to come out, and now they understand the importance of this game, and they're here. They understand the magnitude of what these players can do, and it is good to see the support coming out like this.
Even in the home city of the All-Star game, that's close to the All-Star game itself, and they weren't here?
This is, well, in Boston, I think a lot of them weren't quite sure what the Futures was all about.
Oh, okay.
And as soon as it hit, boy, I'll tell you, they don't want to miss it now.
And Grady Sizemore. Oh, no, this is, oh, yes, sir. Grady Sizemore, yes, is the batter against Denny Bautista. And I hear that Bautista can get it up there a little bit, and he's getting up there at about 90 miles an hour, missed inside after missing high and outside with a fastball. 2-0 to count. Sizemore on the track to becoming the MVP of this game, left-handed batter out of the Cleveland organization. If he can turn around one of these fastballs, that was high in the strike zone, but he gets the call, does Bautista. 2-1 to count. When do you have any off time at all when you're accumulating information and scouting these players who play year-round?
You know, the game of baseball, there's a season when they play games, but it's year-round in terms of scouting. We're always doing something at the amateur level. There's baseball year-round in the warm weather territories. We do a lot of scouting in the winter leagues with our pro staff, so it's pretty much a year-round profession that we've got going with our staff, and there isn't a whole lot of downtime.
Curveball, he tried to catch the back door, but it stayed high, and the count runs full to Sizemore. We're tied at 2, U.S. batting in the bottom of the fifth. 6'5" right-hander pitching from the first base side of the rubber, delivers the fastball. And a broken bat fly ball to right, and that's run down for out number 1. Frank, as you're scouting, we're talking about this year-round, and it seems as though that the game is becoming more global now. You're accumulating data for all the 30 teams, and I don't think when the Scouting Bureau started that all the 30 teams, every team took year. Most of them did, I know, and I think now everybody takes it, right?
Back in 1974, first of all, I'm not even sure how many teams there were, if it was 26 or whatever.
I should remember that, but I don't.
Yeah. But at that point, it was probably about 3/4 of the teams that were actively involved with the Scouting Bureau. And then in 1985, Peter Uberoff brought the Scouting Bureau under the direction of Major League Baseball. So since that point, we work for all Major League clubs.
And this is Kevin Yokelis. He's batting for Tracy, third baseman.
Youkilis has been rumored to be headed to about 17 Major League clubs. As the Boston Red Sox like to dangle Freddie Sanchez, they like to dangle Casey Fossum and Kevin Youkilis.
Well, this is that time of year, too, with the trading deadline just a few weeks away.
How does that work? How do teams come to you for information? Or do you just send everybody the same information?
We have what I think is a fairly sophisticated system of distributing information by way of computer. Our video that we now do, and we're here filming these players as well. We've got a staff of 3 that are here filming.
And I guess Youkilis walks on a high fastball, and you must do that for amateur players as well, right?
We do. As a matter of fact, our video work is improved.
Like high school amateur players.
We do for the draft,
yeah.
and every year for the draft we'll have about 500-600 players on video.
And how many of the strange locales do you go to sometimes get some of these videos?
I'll tell you what, this staff here, if you could get them up here for a few minutes, they could tell you some stories about some small towns.
I've seen those videos. It looks like the kids are catching it. If the guy misses the ball, he's throwing it in the woods. It's made off a polar bear or something.
You're absolutely right. It's and that's what we're so good at. We're finding them, and we want to bring them right into the office of the scouting director and the GM. And scouting is so geared on just memory. What did you see? What did he do? And the one thing about the video, it doesn't lie, and it tells you what he did. And it's to the point now where the clubs rely on that very heavily for the draft, and then also at the pro level that we provide.
Now, will some parents, as Ryan Howard, left-handed batter, takes the fastball strike and the count evens at 1, will some parents and coaches send you video just straight to you?
We don't encourage it, and it's only happened a couple of times, but they're typically not prospects when we do get that kind of video.
Oh, okay.
So we haven't made a point of soliciting that type of info. We have a professional staff that goes out and canvasses the country pretty much year-round with what they do, because we do some summer filming of players that will be eligible in 04. So we give the scouting directors a head start in the fall with the video that they can watch on players they're going to be tracking down next spring.
Howard had a healthy cut of a fastball and fouled it into the mitt.
Want to throw out our email address once again, radio@mlb.com. Questions for Frank Marcos as well as Billy and myself, radio@mlb.com, or you can IM them over to us at MLB Radio Live.
Runner takes off. Huber tried to make the transfer and was unable to do so. So a stolen base by Youkilis. So a walk, a stolen base, and the potential go-ahead runner in scoring position with 1 out.
What about the fact that the futures game has been around for now a while and players are starting to get experience with this? How does that help or possibly hinder the fact that you kind of centralize everything and individual clubs don't have to go as far to get that information?
Well, what this game really does, it puts them on a pedestal to perform. These names are known to all the general managers and the scouting directors, and now they're getting the chance to see them in one location. It's somewhat similar to the showcase events at the amateur level. Sure. You're bringing in the best talent, putting them together against the best talent, and see how they perform. So that's why you do see all the Terry Ryans and the Dan Evans, everybody down there. They understand the importance of this game because of that, the opportunity for trades and things like that.
Makes sense.
Bautista struck out Howard, who tried to check his swing on a high-cut fastball. 2 away, runner in scoring position for David Kelp. Now, Seth, do you know when they sent him down? Because I thought he was still up.
Oh, no, it was I want to say 10 days ago.
And pitch gets away from Huber, and Youkilis advances on. It appears that there was some kind of cross-up. And, in fact, I think that hit the home plate umpire, Scott Kennedy. Yeah, that was some kind of right on the bottom of the mask. And you were saying earlier today, Seth, that Marty Foster was knocked out of the game on a similar play earlier today. And that happened to Scott Kennedy there, although it did hit him flush on the mask a little bit towards the end. Nevertheless, Youkilis advances from second to third. 2 out, and a 1-0 count awaits Kelton.
I'll have those numbers in a mere second. Promises, promise.
Frank, most departments obviously within the team have a scouting budget. Is your budget a little more flexible than most individual team budgets?
I wish I could say it was, but being a division of the commissioner's office, it is not. And I work for Jimmy Lee Solomon and Sandy Alderson, and two outstanding individuals, and they both understand the importance of scouting and what we can offer to the club.
Oh, certainly, yes.
So we've been very fortunate to have their leadership and guidance in a lot of the different services that we can provide to the clubs.
Of course, Sandy running the A's for a number of years, and they're, well, not this recent success, but Carlton stays alive, fouling a fastball out of the mid of Huber, and he remains 1-2 with 2 out as he awaits another pitch from Bautista. Denny Bautista on the hill. And Jimmy Lee Solomon with the minor leagues in a number of capacities with the umpiring as well as the minor league operation. Curveball just missed inside. And the count evens at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Talking to Frank Marcos, head of the Scouting Bureau, which all the other teams use their information and, I guess, add to their own information.
Exactly. It's a supplement to what they do. We try to provide information they can build on.
Well, that was a pretty nasty curveball there. And it catches Carlton looking. 2 strikeouts in the inning as the base runner is stranded at third. And after 5 complete, we are tied at 2.
At this moment in time, we will send it back down to the field where Team USA dug out. Brian Mcrae standing by. B-Mac, who are you talking to?
Hi, Seth. I have Adam LaRoche with me. Adam, this is probably not that big of a deal to you, being around the big leagues with your father, Dave, playing for so many years. You kind of used to being around big league ballparks and how things work that way, don't you?
Yeah, no, it's a huge deal. You know, it's a little different being here bat boying, you know, back when I was little, and then being here playing. So it's been unbelievable so far.
You had a great spring training, almost made the team with Atlanta Braves. What did you learn and what did you take from spring training, and how did that help you with your confidence the way you played?
You know, it helped a lot. Spring was great. My first time getting to play with those guys, and you know, just sitting around talking with them, talking hitting, talking defense, whatever. There's so many things those guys will teach you, and they were great helping the younger guys, helping young players, and it does help going into this season. You know, you go in there with a lot more confidence, and plus you've been up there with them, so it makes you want to get back even more.
You probably realize that they're not that far ahead of where you want to be and where you are, and I think that the best thing for young guys when they go to big league spring training is find out that the guys are good there, but they're not that much better than I am.
Right, that's a big part. You know, they're more consistent. I think that's the biggest thing. Everybody's, you know, if you're playing up there, everybody's got the talent. Those guys they do it every day. You know, they don't have the real long slumps like we do, and that's the main thing.
Adam, how much fun have you had with this whole experience with the Futures game and the things that they've done, and just meeting different guys? Some guys you may read about in Baseball America or Baseball Weekly, and now you get to be on the same field and hang out with them.
Oh yeah, it's been a blast. You know, I knew some of them coming into it, and other guys I just heard about. Carlton, Fisk, I used to bat boy for him back when I was young. So it's great seeing everybody again, and the crowd here, being in the stadium. It's been a blast.
What are the things you're going to work on and you think you need to improve in your game to get you to the big league level?
I think being patient. I think I'm getting a lot of situations where I'm getting 2 strikes when I shouldn't. I'm not taking as many walks as I should be. And I think, you know, if I get patient at the plate and see the ball and hit it instead of going out and trying to get it, I'll be a lot better off.
All right, Adam, well, enjoy the rest of your time here in Chicago, and good luck for the rest of the way in your season.
Thanks a lot.
All right, back up to you, Seth and Billy.
Thanks, B-Mac. We continue now as we begin the top of the 6th.
And we're tied at 2. John Main on the mound for the World team. We'll make that for the U.S. team facing the World. And Reyes backs away from a fastball for ball 2. 2-0 the count. 2 runs, 3 hits, 1 error for the World. 2 runs, 5 hits for the U.S. Fastball, sky to center, playable. And just shy of the track, route number 1.
We talked about David Kelton earlier, and I too remembered him with the Cubs this year, but he was actually sent down a month ago, June 15th.
It's been that long?
I know. Time flies, I guess. I could have sworn it was 10 days ago.
I thought so too, especially I thought it was wrapped around the injury to Corey Patterson.
Funny how time flies, man.
Well, you know they need some hitting as Pete Laporos steps to the plate, and he tried to check his swing and failed to do so on a slider for strike one. Talking to the head of the Scouting Bureau, Frank Marcos. And Frank, I was wondering, the makeup of your scouts, is it significantly different than the team scouts? Sky to left center, and that should be run down as well. Put out 7 for out number 2.
Not necessarily, Billy. It's we have a good mix of ex-big league players, minor league players, and then some guys that have been involved with the game as coaches, been around the game a long time, and developed their skills as a good scout.
It seems as though there's going to be a pitching change. This is the part of the game where we're going to see more pitching. Sometimes in the past, they've come in to pitch to just one batter. And we may see some of that as well. 2 out here, and Franklin Gutierrez will await a new pitcher, and it seems as though he's left-handed, so it will be coming into him as Gutierrez batting from the right side.
You know, one of the things that you think about with regard to the look of the way things go, we will see what happens with the Futures game as it wraps up, but we'll take a quick time out. MLB.com Radio continues our coverage. You are listening to MLB.com Radio.
This is Andy Pettit of the New York Yankees. It's never easy to stand your ground when facing the best hitters in the game, but with practice, you gain confidence. To teach values that go beyond the diamond, Major League Baseball charities and Boys and Girls Clubs of America have teamed up to bring baseball and softball to kids around the world. Through programs like RBI and Rookie League, boys and girls learn about teamwork, fair play, and respect. Because when kids believe in themselves, amazing things can happen.
Hall of Famer Ted Williams.
I got to say this. How lucky I've been in life. I know how lucky I've been in life. More than anybody will ever know. The 2 things I'm proudest of in my life is that I became a Marine pilot. I think that is great an accomplishment as I did in my life. The other thing, of course, is that I had a good baseball career, and equally as important, equally as satisfying, equally as we're proud of, was that I became a member of Baseball Hall of Fame.
Come to Cooperstown to see the career treasures and Hall of Fame plaques of all your heroes. For information, visit us on the web at baseballhalloffame.org or call 888-HALL-OF-FAME. Preserving history, honoring excellence, connecting generations. The Baseball Hall of Fame.
Subject, Pat Sajak. Mission, to determine the actual score of a spring training game. His cohorts, Seth Everett and Mike Ciano.
We believe the score is 5-4, but it may be 4-4.
I think it's 4-4.
There must be some way to find out, and Pat is on the case.
Let me find out. Hang on.
What's the score? Montague! Hey!
I think it's 4-4.
Is that unprofessional? Well, Pat, perhaps. Help Pat solve other baseball mysteries in the Pat Sajak Show with Billy Sample, Fridays at 1 in the afternoon Eastern Time on MLB Radio. Yep.
22-year-old Preston Larison on the mound, and the first pitch to Ricky Gutierrez is fouled down the left field line. Seth Everett, Billy Sample along with you doing the play-by-play. Brian Mcrae down in the U.S. dugout. We'll hear from him shortly. And Frank Marcos, head of the Scouting Bureau, along with us as well. Gutierrez, an RBI single his first time in 2 trips. Chopper up the middle, base hit. So Franklin has his second base hit. He is 2 for 3 on the afternoon. If you're looking for possible Larry Doby Award winners for the MVP.
Preston Larison on the mound now from the Tiger organization, projected for a 2004-2005 arrival, but he is a native of Aurora, Illinois, so what a thrill for him to get to pitch right here in Chicago, and I would think that's one of those things that you look at. And Justin Huber, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but Justin Huber is another, the guy who's stepping up to the plate for the first time, another return offender here at the Futures game. When you make 2 appearances at the Futures game, that's a compliment, but you're saying how many more appearances do I make?
Well, if you make the first one at A-ball, I guess it's okay. If you're making 3 and your first one's in AAA, I don't think that's a good sign.
That's probably not what these guys want to do. No, not at all.
Making it is cool, making it once is cool.
Huber batting from the right side. Righty versus righty, and a sinker gets away from Mathis, and on the play, Gutierrez advances to second on, well, I guess it really doesn't matter what it's scored.
Wild pitch or pass ball?
Yeah, wild pitch. Well, that might be a pass ball, though. It was a sinker that was catchable, but
catchable, blockable. He needs to learn to keep those in front of him, and that's something that he will learn over time. But he's a converted infielder, and he has some arm strength and some ability, some flexibility. He can move back there, but he still has.
Swung over top of it.
You get the scorecard for autographs later? Shannon Elizabeth here.
Who?
Yeah.
Right.
Nice try. You might have fooled me that at the 2001 Futures game.
You know, I don't know anybody. I'm an old curmudgeon. I couldn't tell you any of these people.
Frank, you need to educate this guy.
I'm not sure I know who that was. I'm sorry to say.
Nobody ever said MLB.com radio was hip.
Harrison, the 2-2, grounded to second. And that play will be completed 4-3. And base runner stranded at second as we go to the bottom of the sixth. We remain tied at 2.
Once again, let's throw out our email address, radio@MLB.com. That's radio@MLB.com, or the instant message screen name MLB Radio Live, as we will continue on here at the Futures game. And don't forget, this is just one of a part of our coverage that is part of All-Star Week. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, it's the All-Star press conferences featuring Dusty Baker, Mike Scioscia, the starting pitchers when they are eventually named. Rumor has it Esteban Loaiza, Jason Schmidt, but nobody can confirm anything. Then, of course, we will hear from all the 15 All-Stars, and then, of course, the other thing that we'll be doing is bringing you the Home Run Derby. So a big day for our broadcast, and it's always the longest day of All-Star Week. So, Billy, rest up.
Yes, I will. All I have to do is stay away from you, and I've got a good chance of resting up. Before we go there and get really off base, Frank, do you utilize, and do they still call the people bird dogs, the ones that sort of go out and find that extra player that, I guess they're sort of scouts?
Well, they're scouts in a way, and they are called bird dogs, associate scouts, whatever suits the club's philosophy. But as far as we're concerned, on the payroll, if you will, no, we don't. But every quality scout has his information men out there, and they're basically bird dogs. They're learning about the game. That's how I started. Chuck McMichael, who was the scouting director for Texas Rangers for a while, now a special assistant with John Sherholt.
Right.
I bird dogged for Chuck for a couple of years out in Southern California, and I learned a lot.
What was your day job?
I was obviously I didn't keep it. Thankfully, I learned a lot from just hanging around Chuck and going to ball games and talking about players and getting to know what scouts look for, and a lot of organizations still use them. Associate scouts, they'll sign them to an agreement, and they're out there doing things. For us, we don't do it officially, but every one of our scouts has lots of information. And you know, when you have 2 or 3 states that you're covering, it's a big territory, and you need to utilize information men, helpers that can point you in the right direction.
And the remuneration is up to the individual scout?
Well, we don't do any of that, but the clubs will offer up some type of commission, perhaps, for players they might sign. Sure.
And will scouts get money or bonuses based on how high a particular player will go?
I'll be honest with you, to my knowledge, they don't, but that's probably up to the individual club and see if they want to do anything like that. But for the most part, all scouts are full-time employees or salaried employees. They work hard, and some of them are paid very well to do what they do.
I guess there's a lot of travel involved, too, especially in the middle part of the country where you've got to travel between games and it's not as populous as, let's say, Southern California.
typically your less populated areas, you're going to have scouts that have more territory, more states. In Southern Cal, you can have a couple of scouts that pretty much can get home every night, but there's a ball game every night. There are lots of schools, colleges, high schools, so there's always something happening. But in the Midwest, it's a different territory. In the Southeast, it's a little bit different, where we can spread the scouts out a little bit. But there is a lot of travel, a lot of time away from home and from family.
Travis Blackley, left-hander, on the mound, and the 2-1 to Smitherman. Stephen swings and has a fastball swing and a changeup, and the count evens at 2.
Travis Blackley is a guy who is in Double-A, sporting among league leaders 2.20 ERA, named to the Texas League All-Star team, and he's a native of Australia.
And I'm going to get him to take that chain off. The 2-2 is high and deep to left. Back on the track, Gutierrez, he reaches up, he leaps, but he cannot come down with it as Stephen Smitherman gives the U.S. a 3-2 lead.
Just out of the outfield glove, huh? You think about this from this situation, given the fact that this is a one-run ball game, do you then manage your game in a save situation? And one of the things that you look at when you talk about what's going on with regard to how this world team has to adjust now, do they change their strategy? Or do you just say, look, this is an exhibition, and that's the way it goes?
You mean for the top of the 7th?
Sure.
As far as
just
are they going to be as aggressive as they were before? Yeah.
Pinch hitters, bullpen, do you get different guys up? I mean, suddenly now it's the 6th inning and there's a one-run chase.
I'll take you one further. The Smitherman now becomes a front runner for the MVP.
Good point.
That being his second hit.
Good point.
Cued Mathis his first at bat. The second, 4-3 on the putout. So Jeff is retired. And I see Frank here. Did I see a stopwatch in your hand? Did I see you look at a stopwatch, or you're looking at your own watch to see how much longer you're here?
I'm looking at a stopwatch. Good scout will always carry a stopwatch.
Even a head scout carries a stopwatch.
Even Terry Ryan is down there with a watch. Believe me, absolutely.
Now, and I told somebody, especially after Rocco Baldelli this year with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, as quickly as he gets from home to first, that I remember getting clocked at 3. It didn't happen all the time, but I remember getting clocked from the right side at 3-7. And I thought I was getting there in a hurry. And they said Baldelli gets there at 3-7 too. What's the average as far as you know, or could guess, from the right side?
Billy, what we use in terms of our scouting evaluation is our curve, if you will. 4-3 as a right-hand hitter is our average number.
4-3,
so
okay.
We use a scale of 2 to 8. So if you're running 4-3, you're what we would say an average runner. If you're a left-hand hitter, 4-2 would be an average runner. And it deviates by 1/10 of a second each way. So you'll see some guys that can get down the line really, really quickly in 4-flat, 4-1. But we're always timing somebody. And when we're writing reports, one of the big things that scouting that wants to know, how does he run? And it's tough sometimes when a guy pops up 2 times and strikes out the third, and then gets hit by a pitch. Well, what do?
You chase him. Because if you chase them,
the scouts aren't that fast, They're not that fast. But that's where the scouting instincts come into play. That's where you want to get to the ballpark early, watch them how they run, their mechanics, and try to get an idea of what they can do. But your scouting director is going to want to know, how's he run? And if that was the only time you've gotten a chance to see him before you need to tell your scouting director, you better, maybe you do need to start chasing them, I guess.
Well, and then the follow-up point to that, Billy, tell me if you were thinking along the same line, is that what is a healthy body of work on one guy? When you're going to some of these places to see some of these young kids, how many times do you have to see a guy? Baseball is a game in which one player doesn't, you don't get to see exactly what you get out of a player by watching just one game. What is the body of work?
A couple of things here. First of all, what we really stress is we scout mechanics and the skills of the player. I know the game has changed a little bit at the draft. They're looking at, scouting their college players with performance. But the bottom line is, what do they do mechanically? A kid can go 0 for 3, but if he's still showing you some things, how he swings the bat, how his approach to hitting, you have to make that judgment as a scout and then project. All right, we all have bad days. I'm sure Billy had a few bad days too when he played. But
He had
a few bad days, and he had a few good days too. Nobody gave up on Billy, trust me. But there are things that you look for as a scout. There are things that you want to get to know, his heart, his desire, and then you put it all together and you put the package in front of the scouting director, and that's what you do.
And people will understand that desire is Josh Barfield, who we had an opportunity to talk to recently on MLB.com radio. Now behind the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes. And
new pitcher Jorge De La Rosa.
And Daddy Jesse is in the stands as De La Rosa delivers a 1-2 fastball. It's fouled off to the right.
From the Red Sox organization. And Frank, I know there's one out in the inning, and we really appreciate you coming down, but you're not allowed to leave until you answer this one question, and I really want honesty, not because of the compatriots here. Do you still have the file on Mr. Stanton?
Oh, no. I think I was before the Bureau.
Well, if Billy played amateur ball before 74, we would not. After 74, we've got it somewhere. So when did you...
let's see. I was drafted out of high school in 73 by the late Joe Branzell, who was one of the nicest men around.
Outstanding.
And then Joe tortured me again by drafting me again after my junior year in college at James Madison, a pop-up on the right side of the infield. That'll be taken by the second baseman for out number 2.
Robinson Cano.
It's a real simple scouting report. He can play, so no doubt.
Game.
No, is it still based on the five
tools for the position
players, and what about for the pitchers?
Pitchers, we use fastball, curveball, slider, and then another pitch if he throws one. And that's used to calculate what we call the basic OFP when we develop an OFP, overall future potential number. But then the scout has the liberty to adjust that number, if you will, his preferential list based on instincts of the player, based on approach, based on his aggressiveness, whatever, to place that player in a slot of best to worst, if you will.
Fastball by Khalil Green is fouled down the left field line, and the count evens at 1. 3-2 as USA, behind the home run by Smitherman, has taken the lead. I was wondering, too, because I don't care how many Jamie Moyers there are, how many Greg Maddoxes, it seems as though that the scouts, and maybe not so much your scouts, but the Major League scouts, too, it's kind of hard to go to their player personnel director and say, this guy can really get people out, but he throws only 84, 86.
You hit it right on the nose. Unfortunately, we are enamored with velocity. All you have to look up, you've got the radar readings up on the board. ESPN or whomever is posting it on the TV, so everybody wants to know how hard does he throw. There's a story of a guy in the South Atlantic League just last week. We got him at 101 miles an hour. He didn't throw a lot of strikes.
Right.
Okay.
Little Charlie Sheen Wild thing going on there.
You give me a guy that throws strikes consistently, that's a guy that's going to get to the big league, and he's going to perform.
Green had a fastball, swinging a curveball, and the U.S. out of their half of the 6th, not before taking the lead on a Steven Smitherman home run to left field, 3-2 U.S.
Frank, it's always a pleasure to have you around. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you, Steph and Dilly. I appreciate it, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, Frank.
We'll talk to you soon. That's Frank Marcos, Director of Scouting for the Major League Baseball Scouting Bureau. Let's go down to the World Team dugout as we continue here. Zach Zaidman standing by.
I'm here with one of the shortstops from the Pittsburgh organization, Jose Castillo. And Jose, you're from Venezuela, and one of the best Venezuelan players that you'll find in all of Major League Baseball calls this stadium, U.S. Cellular Field, his home, and he plays right there in right field, Maglio Ordonez. Does that mean a lot to you that you see guys from your country that have been able to come here and have some big-time success?
Yeah, they play in the same team in Venezuela, bro. Me watch it, me see the.
I know you're playing.
Yeah, me play for Oliva team, the capital, but me see Ordonez is a good player.
Yeah, Maglio is a special player, and he'll be here Tuesday for the All-Star game. Now, you play shortstop, but you can also play third. What position are you most comfortable at?
Yeah, I like to restore. I'm more comfortable. This year, the second base occupied her because the Pyra is the second base, but right now I like it to because I like throw hard, and second base easy throw, easy ground ball, easy catch the ball, so it's good.
Yeah, maybe he can be the next Alfonso Soriano. Who knows? Jose Castillo, thank you so much for joining us. Back upstairs, guys.
Thanks, Zach. And, of course, one of the things you look at from these guys, learning not only the major leagues and the major league lifestyle, but as they travel to all these different cities, you have to learn English, and that's always a challenge.
I tell you what, I really admire the attempt because English is not an easy language to learn. And I had a story one time because I would try to speak Spanish back in the day in Texas when they have a Spanish broadcast as they do now, but not a lot of Spanish players. Then from time to time, because I could put a word together every once in a while, if they told me the night before they wanted to talk to me, I would try to do it. And bless their hearts, they tried with me. They must have, but I could only answer in certain. And I can imagine what these players go through because, again, Spanish is a lot easier to learn than English.
Here we go, 7th inning now, and a one-run ball game for Team USA.
Alexis Rios takes a fastball just a little bit outside from Chris Naverson. The left-hander pitching out of Double-A Tennessee. And that time he catches the outside corner. And the count evens at 1. Rios homer to right, going the opposite way his last at bat. And at that point, it tied the game at 2. Strike, says Scott Kennedy. Again on the outside part of the plate, and that's where Rios went deep. However, the left-handers have that natural movement moving away. So it's a little more difficult to get on top of it. And he threw a backdoor curveball, folks. Let me tell you right now. As soon as it broke, not only did Alexis know he was out, I knew he was out from where I'm sitting. That's the kind of pitch that you take home and the scouts say, yeah, that was a serious backdoor curveball. They talk about giving up on it. You don't give up on it. You just can't reach it. You can't coordinate your hands and your arc to reach something like that that's going to break that late and that sharply. And this is Edwin Encarnacion coming out of A-ball, Potomac. 307 is his batting average, 3 homers and 20 runs batted in. A right-handed batter, and the second pitch is outside. 2-0 the count.
As soon as the game ends, then we have an MVP named, the Larry Doby MVP award here for the 5th Futures game. We will talk to that player, and then, of course, that'll do it for our Futures game coverage. Hope you enjoyed.
Now, I think they're probably going to play the bottom half, even though the U.S. has the lead. And they may have to play it anyway. Deep to left? No, not deep enough. Sizemore back, and Grady puts it away for out number 2. Thought it had a chance, and it died just shy of the warning track in left field for out number 2.
And, of course, the pitcher, Narveson, at this point, Chris Narveson, is trying to close this one, had a big smile on his face.
He's not going to get a chance to close it, though. Carlton Fisk, that is, the U.S. manager, has already signaled to the bullpen, so somebody's going to come in and get an out. But what I was talking about, Seth, is they may play, even if the world team doesn't tie the game here in the 7th.
They haven't done that in the past, though.
They haven't?
No, not to my recollection. Remember, last year it was the world team winning 5-1.
Right.
But as far as the past games, I would think that if they get this final out, this game's over. And as far as the other things to think about with regard to the MVP, you know, this is on a big stage. Not only are we broadcasting this here on MLB.com radio, but this is on ESPN 2, I believe. And when you think about what that means for these guys to get that kind of exposure, I guarantee you each and every one of these households got this game on the VCR.
I would think so.
Get
sure.
this game on the VCR.
Absolutely. You never know what the future holds, and you certainly want the opportunity to relish the memories if you have some good memories. And let's see, Scott Thorman. Is that who that is? I think he was the last.
Royce Ring.
Against Royce Ring, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thorman will.
I thought you were talking about the pitcher.
Yeah, no, you're right. Ring, the big name in that trade for Roberto Alomar, going to the White Sox from the Mets. And Ring closing out games in Double-A ball. They say he's not afraid. So we'll see how he fares against Scott Thorman, a left-handed batter.
First-round draft pick a couple years ago by the Chicago White Sox. San Diego State's all-time save leader with 26 saves, Royce Ring.
So he wasn't groomed as a saver in the minor leagues. He actually saved in college, which you're seeing a lot of lately. especially as you get to the College World Series. Some of the pitchers they have that were drafted as relievers were groomed as relievers. So that transition once you get to the majors or to the minors isn't quite as strenuous.
You were correct on Scott Thorman, by the way. I was going backwards. I think pitcher. You think hitter.
Well.
Big surprise, right?
I haven't identified with pitching since I was 15.
I'm just really off speed.
Lefty versus lefty, fastball strike. As I said, Thorman was the last player added to the roster. He takes a curveball that's bounced, and the count evens at 1. 3 runs, 6 hits for the USA team. 2 runs, 4 hits, 1 error for the World batting in the top of the 7th. This is a 7-inning game. Unless, of course, it goes into extra innings. Curveball tried to catch the front door, and it stayed just a little low.
It's a little deceiving because the line score here at the scoreboard is situated for 9. So fans here who might not know that it's a 7-inning game are going to be very surprised when the players stop playing.
When Gene Honda says, okay, clear the field. It is time to see the celebrity softball people. Fastball strike outside part of the plate, and the count evens at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
I believe some of the players, including Blackjack McDowell, have permeated the dugout.
Curveball fisted in the left field for a base hit. Nice piece of hitting by Thorman, because that was an outstanding curveball. Would have been a strike. It broke late, and he has a nice smile on his face at first as he represents the tying run. Yet with 2 out as we go to the top of the order.
Well, isn't this just the way? Robinson Cano from the Yankees to face the Mets with the Futures game on the line.
You must be a headline writer somewhere.
Wouldn't this just be the way?
Cano, a strikeout victim his first time. Fastball strike. Thurman doesn't appear to have base running speed or base stealing speed. Modest lead at first. Fastball outside, and the count evens at 1 ball and 1 strike. Cano, a .281 batter, 5 homers and 50 runs batted in, and a ball, as Seth told you. PA's on deck if indeed Cano can extend the contest. Ground ball sharply hit to short, and it'll be played 6-4, and that will indeed be the end of the contest. Seth speculated they didn't do that in the past, and they don't do it here as the fireworks go off, and the USA holds on to a 3-2 victory. And that 3rd run off the bat of Steven Smitherman. His 2nd hit, his first hit was a double, and the game winner was a home run leading off the 6th.
Now, do you do the co-MVP at this point? I hate that, just because this is a thing about future stars. You don't want to, dilute the product here. You want to have one name.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't think you have these guys established enough to start establishing co-MVPs.
Well,
Smitherman or Sizemore, correct?
Yeah, there's nobody else there. The pitchers, well, you could go pitchers, but
I don't think you would.
Yeah, you don't. Harden struck out the side, though he gave up a run, and there have been a lot of strikeouts. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 and only 21 outs for the World team, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8
and it looks
for
like
the home team. And
Grady Sizemore is going to get it.
Grady Sizemore, okay.
He's the one that's being held out there. Unless someone joins him near home plate, I have a feeling he's going to be getting the call.
That's Matt Gould, right, from the commissioner's office. And he does have Sizemore there, so I would concur with your
just speculating. Unless he has a question about home plate and the way it's situated, I would think standing on a home plate is going to be an issue. Don't forget the final score. Team USA wins it 3-2. This is just part of our MLB.com radio All-Star Week coverage. Tomorrow, a busy day, including the managers and All-Star press conferences. It all gets underway at noon Eastern time. And then, of course, the Home Run Derby, which culminates our All-Star Monday, the Home Run Derby. And we will go down to the field as ESPN's very own Gary Miller will be talking.
And I wonder also if a guy hired in an organization would get the MVP before somebody that's coming out of A-ball like Smitherman was. Just a thought.
So when we get the call, we will send it back down to the field. Again, Grady Sizemore is going to get the Futures Game MVP in the USA 3-2 victory. But as we said, tomorrow, the press conferences get underway noon Eastern, followed by the All-Star press conferences. The All-Stars, everybody's coming in tonight to Chicago. And then, of course, the Century 21 Home Run Derby. We'll have Brian Mcrae down on the field, and we'll have the call for you here, right here at U.S. Cellular Field. And that's just part of our All-Star coverage. Then, of course, we head back to Fan Fest for talk shows all day Tuesday, culminating with the Jewel event, the Midsummer Classic. The All-Star Game, the 74th annual All-Star Game. And we still have not heard on starting pitchers. Esteban Loaiza, rumor. Jason Schmidt, rumor. But again, those are just rumors. And as soon as we hear the actual word, we will let everybody know. But lots going on as far as Grady Sizemore getting the MVP. But we may have a dark horse here as Steven Smitherman is hanging out. We will send it down to the field. Gary Miller.
After Major League Baseball and our sponsor, Radio Shack, we're pleased to present you this year's Larry Doby Award for Most Valuable Player, the 2003 All-Star Futures Game.
So Grady Sizemore is your MVP. Now you did it with a couple of hits, including the home run, Grady. How good does that trophy feel?
Feels pretty heavy right now, but it's also a great honor. I'm just happy to be here, help the team win, and it's a great honor. I just don't have much else I can say.
Now, it's a pretty crowded outfield in Cleveland. When do you think you might be up here in Cellular Field playing official games?
I don't know. That's not really up to me. I just want to play hard every day and get better.
Now, your home run gave you the lead. They came back and tied it. So how important was Smitherson's home run? And do you think he has a piece of this MVP?
I think he definitely deserves a piece of this. This is just important to mine, if not more. He came through under the clutch and helped our team go for the win.
What was the best part of the experience for you, Grady?
Just everything. I'm just trying to take it all in right now.
Grady Sizemore is your MVP for the 2003 Futures Game, joining the likes of Adam Dunn and Alfonso Soriano. But he says a piece of this belongs to you, Steven Smitherson. And we have a game-winning home run for a guy that was drafted in the 23rd round. I mean, how special is this?
Unbelievable. It really is. It's been a blessing. It really has. To be able to come out and play with these guys, I've been playing with them coming up in the, playing them in A-ball and AA and things of that nature. So it's been an absolute honor and a blessing to be here.
Tell us about that moment that untied this game.
It's kind of unexplainable, really. It's just, you're trying to get a good pitch to hit, and I got a decent pitch to hit, and it happened to get out of here. So it's an absolute blessing. That's all I can really say.
And how nervous were you on that ball that went? I thought it was gone. It was going to tie this game in the last inning.
Well, when I made contact, I was like, okay, let me see if I can get a double, and then it just kind of inched over the fence. So I was like, all right, that'll work. So,
Adam Dunn's a former MVP of this game. That's one of the guys you're competing with there to get some playing time in Cincinnati if you get up there. You think he's watching?
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's my man. Him and Austin Kearns and people like that are just wonderful people up there. To be up there, to be able to go up there and play with those guys is unbelievable. I got a chance to go up there for a couple of days, and I had a wonderful time. And that's just what I'm trying to do is to get back.
Now you got something even Ken Griffey Jr. doesn't have, a win in the Futures Game. Dave, back to you.
Gary, thank you very much.
And, of course, that is the ESPN's Gary Miller. One correction, though. Adam Dunn never won the MVP award. It's been Soriano, Burroughs, Toby Hall, and Jose Reyes, and now Grady Sizemore getting the MVP, and a great job out of Grady Sizemore. Really can't argue with that kind of a decision.
No, and it's nice for Smitherman to get a little airtime as well, because the question that game-winning home run, and the question that Gary Miller was asking him, how did he feel when Encarnacion hit the drive to left, because that appeared to go off the bat like he could have tied.
Let's send it down to the field now. The MVP of the Futures Game, Grady Sizemore, is with our own Brian Mcrae. B-Mac?
Yeah, I'm down here with the MVP, Grady Sizemore. Grady, how does it feel?
Feels pretty exciting right now. Trying to take it all in, a little adrenaline rush right here. Getting this MVP is a great honor. I'm just happy to be here, help the team win.
Could you envision when you got asked to come here and play in the Futures Game that it turned out this way and that you'd have so much fun and then you go away with a little hardware?
I didn't envision this. I just wanted to have fun, play around with the guys, just try to, make an impact in the game, and turned out I did all right.
This has been a pretty good experience for you, hasn't it?
It's been a great experience. It doesn't get any better than this coming from minor leagues. You know, this is where you want to be. This is a great honor. I'm just happy to be here.
Do you think being here and experiencing everything that you experience will help you get geared up for the second half of the season in the minor leagues?
I think so. I think it's definitely a motivation. You know, this will let you know what you can possibly achieve. You know, it's a great honor. I'm just happy to be here. Hopefully I can take this into the second half of the season.
It's a lot of fun, isn't it? Being treated like a rock star and kind of bouncing around and seeing how big league life is. You want to get right back out there, don't you?
It doesn't get any better than this. Yeah, this is probably the top of this. I don't know what to say. It's just unbelievable.
Who's the first call you're going to make when you get out of here?
I'll probably call my dad back home, see if he's watching the game. I'm sure he was. Give him a call and see how he's doing.
Well, Grady, congratulations. Go enjoy yourself. You had a great time. Enjoy this, and then have a great second half of your season. Then maybe you'll get up to the big leagues here pretty soon.
Thank you very much.
All right, back up to you guys, Stephen Billy.
Thanks, VMAC. Great job all day as well. And you think about it, a very fitting spot. And it is a crowded outfield because the Cincinnati Reds have a lot of young decisions to make. But to tell you the truth, those are the kind of decisions that you welcome, whether it turns into outfield depth or whether it turns into the much-needed pitching.
Well, with
either one,
the Reds and with with Grady,
that's right,
with Cleveland, yeah.
Same scenario applies.
Absolutely. And in fact, Jonathan Mayo and I were talking about it the other day, and I think you were on with us as well, talking about the depth of talent that they got, especially through all the trades that Mark Shapiro made for Cleveland, and that's just part of it, because this is a guy in Double-A ball that has a future hopefully somewhere, but they've got so much young talent there, and that minor league system is so stacked that you think that it might be just a year or so because before they will start to challenge the top of the division. And as it is, since April, they've played 500 ball, even with a lot of these young players going.
That'll do it for our entire crew here at MLB.com Radio. Remember, this is just day one of All-Star Week, as we will have the Home Run Derby tomorrow night, plus all the All-Star press conferences that all gets underway at noon Eastern right here on MLB.com Radio. Zach Gagan, Brian Mcrae, Billy Sample, I'm Seth Everett. Thanks to producers Mike Dillon, Mike Ciano, Andy Ross, and everybody else here at the show, including engineer Ed Murphy, as we are here live at U.S. Cellular Field. We'll be back tomorrow night with the Home Run Derby. For all of our crew, I'm Seth Everett, and this has been the 5th Annual Futures Game on MLB.com Radio.